champion.
Heyo, welcome to Jammin on Comics with not only OmniDog and Krisis, but bonus guest Max and Freddie, who I thought wasn't going to be on the show. So the thumbnail's kind of wrong, but it's not James's fault because James made a great thumbnail. That thumbnail rocks. So I'm OmniDog, joined by Max. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now I really can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
Oh my lord.
Peter, how are you?
This is not. I'm not in my prime today. I think the fact that the theme song did not actually play is consistent with the day that I'm having so far. So I'm very happy to be here.
The theme song didn't play.
It played for me.
It didn't play for me. Did it play for all of you?
Yeah,
Yes.
but I did hear you over it at one point.
I did hear Peter over it too, and I was like, how's that possible? I thought his mic was muted.
No, we're having this is the collapse of society live on stream today. It's
Do you want
all
me to
falling
play?
apart.
Do you want me to play the intro again? It's only 17
No,
seconds.
that's okay. That's okay. I'll just pretend.
Okay. It goes OmniDog, 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 just brag. That's how it goes. Just to remind
And actually,
you.
while Freddie is introducing himself, I think I have to reload the streaming. So I will pop back in just a moment.
Okay. Petition to ban Freddie. Who wants to ban you, Freddie?
I do. I'm banning myself
Oh
also.
my lord.
This
I-
little creature.
Oh, hello, baby.
Yeah, finally.
That is so cute. Okay, so part of it went missing.
Mm.
What the heck? Okay, just a sec. No, everybody knows what it is.
You know,
I
that's
don't need
the whole
to.
thing.
Here's Halo Tangle. How are you?
So how's
Um,
my mic now? Can you hear me now?
No, you're super muffled.
Motherflip.
Okay, Logan says, hi, fellas. Good to see you all. Don't know if I'll be able to stay for the whole show, but I'll be here as long as possible.
We appreciate you, Logan, and anyone who even watches for a little bit.
Yeah. James, you said you see there's something missing in your thumbnail. James did a great thumbnail. Here's Batmantha. How you doing? She said she's reading Batman again. Did she respond to my Discord? Yes, she did. That says the second half of Snyder's run she's reading. The goal is to finish all of New 52 Batman while I'm where I'm going, so I can get started on Tom King's run when I get back. Well, peace and love, Batmantha. I wish you a good journey on all of that. I don't know that. Yeah, I may have to go ahead and start without you for Tiny Onion's Detective. And wait, no, Tiny Onion's Batman and Tomasi's Detective. Boy, I got a lot of Batman to catch up on.
Yeah, but not as much as her. She's like
No, she's got a lot, but she also started like back in the Bronze Age. So,
well, yeah, that's true.
Javi, how's it going? Harvey, what up, buddy? No, I forgot to remove something. Let me look at this thumbnail. Forgot to remove something.
My question for Harvey is, what's more annoying, talking about Batman or talking about X-Men? Because we will do the most annoying option.
We'll do both.
We'll do both. How about that?
Let's call it Let's Annoy Harvey.
Harvey also loves when I say that Image is indie comics. That's Harvey's favorite thing that I do.
Okay, we're changing the topic to this is the Annoy Harvey show. Image is the top indie comic seller around.
It's the most.
And Gang of Four's best song is I Love a Man in a Uniform. I know New Gods better than he does. Let's see, what else? This show needs more Max. Oh, that's from Freddie.
And I got it. You see?
Yeah, you got him. Do you want to
Just
try and?
without sound.
No. Okay, you sound a little better now.
A little bit. I can turn it up even more. If that helps.
Okay.
Okay. Now I am even more turned up. Am I more audible?
Okay. Oh, and Crushing Crisis also commented, I like when Jess puts up the thumbnail early because it gives me a countdown clock to show the hair and makeup team about how little time they have left to finish up. But I did put it up early. Yarn is here. Welcome. Kaigon, welcome. Not my nephew Ryan Bragg, welcome. Oh, Matt going for the DJ. The legendary OmniDog opens his vault tonight, and it echoes with the sweet sounds of everybody's favorite teen comic crooner, Crushing Crisis. Very alliterative. Live tonight, live. Be there. You sold it, buddy. Nicely done. I'm the one that put the lettering in, so if I forgot the apostrophe, it was on purpose.
For sure.
Yeah. All my mistakes are on purpose. Max, what happened to Dupe? Did Gizmo kill him? Oh, he's right there. Here's my Discord. Okay, so people had trouble hearing the theme song. Beyond Comics, we've got all three Kiwis looped in here. One live, two actually, we've got a Kiwi, a Netherlander, and a Puerto Rican. All glad they aren't residing right here in the States, I bet. Man,
well, Freddie gets all the detractions and very few of the benefits, so he's really
true.
He's not working out too great. Deal.
Get less benefits.
I'm doing well.
I was saying on the internets that Puerto Rico, of course, has passed that resolution in the last few resolutions that they still the majority want to have statehood. And I'm like, well, they want more states. They're looking for Greenland a state, Canada state. Maybe now's the time. Now's the time to make Puerto Rico a state. Except for that, that's not what they want. But there is one state available now.
Don't give it to me. I don't want it.
You could be the 53rd state after Greenland and Canada.
Listen, it's never going to happen. And the only way it is going to happen is if we voted for independence. Because then it'd be like, you want out? No.
Dragging you back in.
That's how they got.
Kaigon, how did you already get the Nocenti bus? That's what? How did that happen? It just went on sale today for normal people, for regular Joes like me. Let's see if that's still available. Daredevil. Yeah, both covers are still available. No problem. Everybody relax.
Yeah, I need to buy that.
Hurry up. It's out of print.
I'm going.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Good to see you. Tyler, welcome. I just spent $250 on a manga order to celebrate a promotion. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We'll give you the celebration. There we go. Whee!
Now give us a full list of all the manga you bought, plus a few fake ones for Jess.
Yeah, please. Tell me all of it.
Let's play real or fake manga.
Oh gosh, I mean, there's some. I never know. Like, what is the one? I'm secretly in love with an ooze or something like that. That's it. That's a real manga.
Yeah.
Oh, we play that game on Omni Bros, and Lou and I were up like 5 games to none, but then we got crushed last time, and our tails are between our legs in sadness for our crushed ego. Okay, Jess, shut up. Nobody cares. James got what? And the Kevin Arrow Green Arrow bus in the what? How's that happening?
I'm confused.
Pre-ordering or something? Here's Hayden. What up, Hayden? Good to see you.
Hi, Hayden.
Hey, Dana. Good to have you here. Yes, I do still need to read that Charles Schultz manga. Yeah, you actually are fine, Krisis. Everything looks good. Do you want to do a mic check or anything? Because you look
I'm
fine.
just having a meltdown. That's why I'm here today.
Okay.
I'm just here to enjoy the meltdown. Yep.
Just remember, it's all content. Melting down live, content.
Right? If we're having a little menti B, let's just make sure we turn it into content.
Apartment Man is a manga. Which cover do you guys like for the Black Panther by Hudlin Omni?
The one with Storm.
Oh dear. Yeah, I like the one with Storm also.
They're really great though.
Krisis could be having a crisis.
Oh.
And Max is gone. So we'll entertain ourselves with Tyler's what he bought.
Okay.
20th Century Boys, Hunter x Hunter, The Climber, Planetus, Talking Dogs and Cats, Wink at Krisis, I Would If You Were Here, Vagabond, Kingdom, Vinland Saga, March Comes In Like a Lion.
Wow.
If that makes you happy, Tyler, I'm glad, because it's fun to spend money when you get it, and it's fun to have a promotion because I'm sure you deserved it. And I think it's awesome. One thing I did not do was write down what my actual thoughts were regarding the topic. I know we're only going to spend 2 seconds on the topic, but
Max and Krisis aren't here.
Actually, you're going in and out a little bit, Freddie.
Am I? I'm right next to the router. Let me see if I'm connected to the.
Okay, now you sound fine.
Okay, well, I just have to remind it I'm next to the router.
Let's see. Wait, I had an idea. What is it? Oh, yeah. Okay, let me write that down when we actually get to the topic.
Important.
Yeah, there's that. I have not started Lightfall yet. I need to get through my to be read pile that started in January, and I only got through halfway through. I didn't even get halfway through it. This may be a 6-month review instead of a bi-weekly monthly review. I'm way behind.
Oh, wow.
I'm way behind on my reading.
How many books was it total? Do you remember?
It was too many. Way too many. It was delusional, as Very Fine Condition would say. It was delusional because I just had way too many. I didn't get to the Harley Quinn or the Nightwing or the World's Finest. That's what I want to read next, because those are sort of my comfort reads.
Oh yeah, I'm behind those two on World's Finest. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Lightfall. Yeah, Chris and I think Voracious Reader in my Discord have both been I think Voracious Reader also was singing the praises of Lightfall. So I will try and get to it sooner rather than later. Although I think I also have an outstanding debt to Chris. He wanted a review of Philadelphia Volume 2, and that was like back in September. But he said, never mind, I read it. And I said, okay. So he let me off the hook there. Lots of pre-orders on the list, and yes, I was promoted to lead special ed teacher in our building. So pretty big deal, and very happy about it.
Nice.
We'll give you the Dazzler effect for that too. Woo! Yeah. I don't know if Peter's coming back.
Oh no.
He seemed unhappy.
Very. A little mad. Those were not happy eyes.
No, I hope he wasn't. I hope he wasn't angry at me for anything, because I always blame myself when anybody's mad.
No. This one didn't seem directed at anybody.
No, we're not talking manga. We're talking about Tyler's order. You can rest assured, rarely if ever will the two of us talk about manga. And what's the story in the Netherlands there, Max? How's it going?
First of all, can you hear me or not?
Now you're
breaking up and scratchy now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you wanted to be on this show.
Me too. Yes. I feel fulfilled.
I don't know. Yeah, I will definitely get to it though, Chris. On Dana talking my language. The 6 mystery books are on my to be read stack at the moment. Currently on volume 3.
Nice.
Did my reading order video help you at all, Dana, or did you already know in what order to read them? Because they were released out of order.
I hate that.
They did it on purpose.
Is this any better?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not breaking up and staticky.
Okay, but am I still too quiet?
No, actually, you sound really good right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now talk to us about Dragon Ball. That's all we want to know.
Dragon Ball.
About what?
About Dragon Ball. That's all I want to
Dragon Ball? Yeah, please. Dragon Ball and manga chat.
Tell me how you reacted to finding out about Vegeta and the shower. That's all I want to know.
Oh, that tickled me. I very much enjoy that. It's Jess, would you like me to explain what happened with the shower?
No.
His wife said no more group showers if you
No. Krisis, are you with us? What's happening here?
It was funny. It was a Harley Quinn level joke.
What,
like
Max was?
No,
Max
the guy on Dragon
The
Ball.
thing that Freddy is referring to was in the show, one of the characters wouldn't stop fighting, and then his wife basically said, if you don't stop fighting, I'll never take a bath with you ever again. And then there was like a slow motion shock effect where you saw the guy's face go, no, and then he stopped fighting.
I'm sorry I missed it, because you have a way with a story, let me tell you. Your mystery video helped, but I've just been reading them in the order they collected them. That's fair. They're your books. You can do whatever you want with them. Harvey, I'm not highlighting that. You can go to hell, pal. So I'm salty, and Krisis isn't here. Max is muffled, and there's a petition to ban Freddy. So
he's voting right now.
There is kind of a topic, but let's quickly find out what we've all been reading recently. Is it? Oh! Wait a sec.
Oh.
How are you doing?
I told you I'm having a day over here. I'm having a day.
Okay.
I think this is the most upset I've ever seen you. I honestly didn't know you were capable of anything but
radiant.
But yeah, I'm. You are you? I know. This stream will put you in a better mood. There's nothing we have to talk about. Everything's just relaxed and calm. We're just gonna read from the chat, see what people are up to. No expectations, buddy. Whatever you want to talk about, you can talk about. I'm addressing you, Krisis.
You know, this is why on that first stream I had of the year, which is now hidden from YouTube, but some of you witnessed it. James certainly did. That I had my resolve, repair, recover, because you can't do it in the other order, right? And I'm the kind of person who's like, I'll like resolve to do something and then I want it to happen, or I'll be like repairing something, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do about repairing it, or I'm like trying to recover and I haven't repaired before I recover. And I think that applies to our health as much as it does to just like the internet breaking and all of your network going down and your computer not charging. It's kind of like you gotta do the steps in order. If you try to just have a positive mindset about it and you haven't done anything to fix it, the thing will come back and continue to haunt you. You've got to do the repair step. And so I think in the past I would actually get back on here and be like, but I don't really think I do that anymore, because it's like, well, what are the steps? If we can't fix the internet, then we can't be on the stream. So let's go. If Max can't fix the mic, he has to speak in sign language. You know, like we got to just take it step by step. We can't get ahead. And so actually, I'm really not in a bad mood. I'm happy to be here, and I'm just in this state of like, I think that applies to our comic reading too. Like, when we're reading comics and we're not happy, why are we not happy? Are we reading the wrong comics? Did a run take a direction that we don't really like? Like, I just think sometimes, in the same way that I always say, interrogate your comics, like interrogate your emotions. Maybe this is therapy talking. Like, figure out why it is you're so upset, instead of just being like, I'm going to fix being upset. Well, you can't fix being upset if you don't know why you were upset.
Resolve, repair, recover.
That's what I've been saying this year, and I keep forgetting what order they go in, and then James comes on in the comments and reminds me.
Resolve. You know what? That's really good. That's what I'm going to do with that eBay guy that I was complaining about. I am going to resolve to make it better. I will repair it, and then I will recover from it.
Right.
It's not a big deal. That's really good. Thank you, Krisis.
I've just been trying to have that all this year, because then this life is hard. The world is hard. Our personal lives are hard. It's hard to make the internet work sometimes, right? And I just think that like part of, not to like go too deep in minute 22 of our Jammin' About Comics, but the whole point about this is to have like happy friend time. And if you don't know how to get out of the place that's making you upset, then you can't access happy friend time, right? And I know you and Jess and I, you and I have been talking about this month, but all this past year, of like, sometimes you have to just kind of like acknowledge what the problem is and deal with it if you want to go and spend time with your friends and be on the internet and read your comics and be happy. And until you get past that initial point, you just can't enjoy any of the stuff.
Yeah, you're right. That is right. I aspire to be like Krisis, both in their emotional intelligence and I didn't expect this, in their hater energy.
Yeah, being emotionally intelligent, the EQ does not stop me from being a hater. I can still go from 0 to hate pretty quickly, as people who watch my Sunday afternoon stream know all too well. But I don't bring that here. We don't bring the hate vibes here. That's not on the stream.
No, there's way too much love, but that comment was really funny.
Just, do you know that 3 of my favorite 10 comics right now in the year of our Lord 2025 are written by Jason Aaron?
Really?
Yes.
Wow. What are they?
I'm not Superman. Which just you wait until the trade gets here. It's one of the best Superman comics I've ever read. Now I know how you people all feel when you read all the terrible Superman comics, like All-Star Superman, that are like so bad that I just want to like cry and like rip my beautiful luscious hair out because they're so horrible. But you derive enjoyment from them. I don't know how you do it, but now I know, because I'm deriving that enjoyment from Absolute Superman. I also him on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is just. It's everything I've always wanted from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Max and I talk about it every week. And then I really love Bug Wars #1. I just thought it was like a perfect #1.
Bug Wars?
Bug Wars. It's his new Image comic with basically the whole team from Conan. It's got Moment Asrar on art, and who's the colorist? Jordi Belair?
Image, the independent, the indie publisher.
Right, the #1 in independent comic books.
Yeah, truly indie. Yeah. Bug Wars. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's really cool. I legit probably, I might read Bug Wars. I read the first 12 IDW TMNT, and I'm sated. I mean, it was great. I enjoyed it. I still need to see the 1990 movie,
You do.
which I think might be getting a re-release into the theaters. Which actually, I don't know why I'm saying that, because I'm not going to go to the
Oh,
theater.
you got it. Now you mentioned you got
I
it.
love that you're more behind on movies than me. My list is like, oh, there's movies from 2017 that I still haven't seen. Your list is there's a movie from 1990 that I need to get out there and see.
That he's been talking about since he first got on YouTube about.
Most successful
Yeah,
independent film.
I would. I think the next time I'm leaving the house for a movie is probably going to be Superman. Yeah, probably.
Wait, which one comes out first, Superman or Thunderbolts?
Oh, Krisis hating All-Star Superman was not on my bingo card for this show. Krisis has his opinions, and they are his opinions. They're Krisis opinions.
I think the thing is, I love Grant Morrison from an academic standpoint. We've covered that. I don't need to do my whole monologue. But then sometimes from a storytelling standpoint, I'm like, this is not a story. I'm reading a textbook about how you think Superman should be written. I'll save it for later. There's another topic that this connects to that I think we're going to talk about today. But
Okay.
I can't get lost in a Grant Morrison comic. A lot of the times, all I can see then is like them turning the gears, connecting the gears, making the widgets work. And I don't see story. Like I don't see dialogue. I don't see characters doing anything. It's just like I'm looking at a car with a transparent hood, and I just see all the bits of the engine turning around, and I can't see that it's a car. I think that's like, and I love an occasional Grant Morrison comic, but very frequently, 99 times out of 10, my experience with Grant Morrison is, that's so cute that you're doing all those academic things. How cute.
How cute. What's a Grant Morrison book that you like?
I know there's one that I always talk about how much I like it. I don't know. It must exist.
Was
Oh,
it
Batman. I like Grant Morrison Batman.
Did you like Klaus at all?
Yes, I do like Klaus. It's not my favorite, but it's not my least favorite. I own it physically, so I definitely enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about like Animal Man?
I hate it, Animal Man.
I hate Animal
I think
Man.
Gwenpool is Animal Man done right.
As long as you have
I just knocked Jess's train of thought. I was like a James Bond movie, and I set up explosives on the bridge under the train of thought that Jess was having, and then they all blew up, and you saw the train go.
Yeah, wow. First of all, I'm happy to hear you say positive things about Gwenpool. I love Gwenpool.
Well, don't worry, they're going to ruin her this year too.
I'm not sure I like what I heard, but I'm going to wait to read it and then make my judgment. I'd rather do that, but it doesn't fill me with hope. But you never know. It could be really good. You never know. There are some people who agree with you. All-Star Superman 3 times, who can't get through it. And also William Lee also agrees with that. So you're not alone. How about 7 Soldiers of Victory?
I have not read that.
I haven't read that. Okay. I don't know why I keep bringing up Grant Morrison books just to have you.
So who's your nemesis, Jess? You're all positive all the time. Let's let some of these negative feelings out of our bodies and release them into the air. Who's a writer that you just never ever vibe?
Well, I do have trouble reading a lot of Grant Morrison. There's a lot of Grant Morrison stuff that I have trouble reading.
What is an example? I mean, I see his their beautiful Batman books right behind you. What's an example of one you have trouble reading?
The Filth. I really struggled with The Invisibles. There's a book he wrote called Nameless that at the end of it, he goes into a whole 3 or 4 typewritten pages on the books you need to read to understand Nameless. And I'm like, dude, I do not want to read other books, so I can read this comic book. I just want to read the comic book. So that one frosted me.
Going back to what Peter said about writing, how to write Superman, he actually wrote that book. It's called Super Gods.
I love that book because that's about all about academics. No pretending there's any story. And I love the academics of comics. I have tons of books like that. I have Super Sex. I have the Claremont run. I have all these books that are about like how comics are written, are made, what they're doing. So yeah, I love that. And that's why I do love them heart to heart. Like I appreciate them. The whole reason that I came out as non-binary. Does everybody know this Deep Crisis lore? Oh, this is some good Deep Crisis lore. So
I don't think
I've ever told this on stream before. So we were recording our first Batman stream when we were doing the Grant Morrison Batman read with Fariha and Harry on my channel in like 2021. And I had liked the idea of like non-binary, but I didn't really get it. To me, it was just like something I saw somebody occasionally on Drag Race say they were. And I was like, okay. So I was reading that article where Grant Morrison kind of reckons live with the journalists of like, oh, I've never really thought about it. But I guess if I think back, I've never really enjoyed the masculine and I've always played with both sides of gender. And I don't really have a strong dedication to be calling he. And then the end of the article, it's like, and so we're going to be calling Grant Morrison they, them. And then that article kind of like started all. And I was reading that article for the podcast live to the camera and to the microphone because I wanted to give context about why we were going to use they, them pronouns for Grant. And I got to the end of it and I hit pause and I was like, as I was reading that, I think all of the same things are true for me. So I guess that means I'm non-binary. Like it was just this like, just in that moment. Like I had never really thought about it, but saying their words out loud from my mouth, I was like, all of these words are true.
So I don't know. I guess it sounds like I owe you an apology. I don't think I knew this about you.
Well, I don't really, it's like, as long as you compliment my hair, that's really all I'm looking for out of a relationship.
Well, that's the first thing I've ever complimented you on. So I guess I'm on your good side.
Yeah.
I definitely have not been calling you by the proper pronouns.
Oh, no, I don't. I mean, you'll see in chat, some people, they, them, me, some people, she, her, me. It's well established that I don't care. I care about everybody else's pronouns.
Okay.
And they can fight me to take them away over my dead body, but I don't particularly care about mine.
Okay. Well, I respect whatever your decision is. And as long as I haven't insulted you, I feel like everything's okay then.
No, most of the times you insult me, it's on the Evergreen stream, and that's
it's intentional. I never unintentionally insult you. There's always purpose behind my insult.
Yeah, I only ever intentionally insult Lars. It's with great intent that I insult Lars, never by mistake.
You did ask me like 10 minutes ago, and we haven't got there yet, a writer that I will not read.
Yeah. Or not will not read, but one that just makes your brain vibrate in unfriendly ways as you read them.
And I'm having trouble thinking of somebody that I automatically just go, I guess well, I don't know. I know I feel like I really like Scarlet Witch by Steve Orlando, and I liked his Midnighter and Apollo. I don't know if I'm I don't know if I'm what's the word? Enough of a critical thinker when it comes to comics where I can just say blanket statement, their writing's not for me.
But I think that's part of what's so interesting about Steve Orlando in particular, because I've had that same problem with him for many years across many titles, is sometimes I think you can't figure out like what are they trying to do? What's their game? What's their wavelength? Like for Steve Orlando, I feel like he puts so many words on the page that he's almost like explaining the comic to me sometimes. And then I'm like, but I wanted to hang out with the characters and have fun. And I feel like Scarlet Witch, with him literally narrating in the second person to Scarlet Witch, kind of was like this special backdoor access pass to me to be like, oh, so this is what it's like when he actually is using him like over explaining the comic as a trope. Now that I understand the way he thinks about it, he's like, this is a tragic turn for the Scarlet Witch. Will she be able to survive? And then the next page, of course she does, because she's the Scarlet Witch. Hearing him do that literally, like, let me go into some of his other comics and go, oh, I kind of get it now. And I just, that's why I've been asking you, somebody you have trouble with, and I want to turn it to Freddie and Max. Not because sometimes there's just no solution. Sometimes I just don't vibe with Garth Ennis. He's a great writer. I just don't vibe with him. That's the case. But I really think it's fun to like try to understand like what is it about their writing that keeps you at arm's length, because then sometimes it's, you can like play the Uno reverse card and figure out like, oh, well, now I know how to enjoy their writing. So Freddie, what about you? Is there somebody who you just like can't ever figure out how to access?
Well, there's two thoughts to this, right? It's that one, they had to have written something great, something they gave a lot of thought to, and then, you know, they got an assignment that they entered, and maybe they weren't the most clear about. I feel that's the case for Steve Rogers. He meets all of deadlines, but he doesn't think about the comic before handing in the deadline, which is the case for Midnight on Apollo, because that was his first like actual big job. And Scarlet Witch, he clearly is very passionate about it, but it made everybody enter it very hesitantly because of that.
Yeah, I agree.
So you know, I can't vibe with Ryan North. You know, I've read so much. I've tried, and then when he finally got Fantastic Four, I was like, I'm gonna skip this, because it's just what you were saying earlier. You know, I read like 50 plus issues of Squirrel Girl. I read his Adventure Time comics. I read a few more things. And, his Jughead, which deeply offended me. Because it came after Zdarsky, and Zdarsky makes him asexual and everything. And what's the first thing that he does? Oh, he's gonna be dating Sabrina.
Wait, you said Zdarsky made him asexual?
Yeah, Jughead.
Okay. I
that had been like long time subtext that everybody was like, the only thing he loves is burgers. He's
burgers, yeah.
Burgers. Yeah. And so I think Zdarsky being Zdarsky is like, we'll go there. We will go all the way there.
Yeah.
And actually what's really funny about that is one of the Sprouses, which one of the two Sprouse kids played him on Riverdale? Dylan Sprouse?
One.
Yeah, but people would ask him, and he's like, you know what? I actually read the comic, and I thought it was really cool, and I would love to play him as asexual if we do that on the show. And I was like, rarely do you hear an actor of a comic like actually be like, I read the comic and I'm really into that. Let's do it. But then of course they never did, because it's the CW and he was one of the romantic leads. But I thought it was kind of cool that he was like, I'm into it. Let's do that. Sounds cool. I agree. Good job. You know,
I wish Riverdale.
What is
I had high hopes for Riverdale. I really wanted to love it, but I couldn't get past the fact that every single parent was an evil manipulator in on this grand conspiracy. And the only good parent was Archie's dad, and then he died in real life. Spoiler alert.
Spoilers for real life.
For real life, yeah.
Spoilers for real life. Yeah, you didn't know. And so, I mean, I really thought the first season was really great. Mm-hmm. But then I had trouble wanting to go back, because I was just like, I hate all these parents. Like, there's nothing redeeming about them at all. How are the kids even reasonably normal having such manipulative, awful, lazy, lethargic, whatever they were, parents?
Drag them. No, but that's why I don't want to watch a lot of TV shows. I just have my rule, and you've heard me say it before. If I don't like them at the end of the first episode and I'm wishing for all of them to die, then I'm not going to keep reading or watching or whatever the thing I'm doing. But Freddie, to your Ryan North thing, do you think he's got a certain smirkiness about him? Like when he tells a funny joke, it's very like, here is the joke, which I like. But is that what keeps you at arm's length from him?
I don't know. It took me like a really long time to like realize like, oh, I'm not vibing with this. I've read like 100+ issues that he's written, and it's just finally dawned on me like he's not for me, and that's fine, you know.
Did you read any of his Fantastic Four?
No, I've only read a few pages randomly that people share, and they look good. It's just, I know once I read the context of it, the whole thing, I'm gonna be not into it. And
I love his
that's
Fantastic
not an
Four.
energy I want, and that's not an energy you want to give to people. I'm not out there going, "Oh, Ryan North should go poop himself."
Well, everybody should be regular, but I think that I think there's power in that, right? Like the realizing, like it's different for me when I go into a comic book by somebody who I have liked in the past, and I bring my big hater energy because I'm like, you're doing something wrong, right? Like there's somebody writing a comic right now that we all know that I hate, and she is doing something wrong. But with like Mark Miller, you know, like I just don't vibe with Mark Miller. I'm not going to read 5 Mark Miller comic books a month to shout at them. That's a me problem. That's not a him problem. So like, you know, it took me years to realize that Grant Morrison, it's a me problem and not a them problem, right? I just thought Grant Morrison wrote shitty comics, but it turns out I might be shitty in some way, maybe.
Well, there's also another thing, which is sometimes you grow and change, and it doesn't just affect your taste in food. Sometimes it affects your taste in literature, what you read. I used to love Mark Miller, but then once after, what was it, Kick-Ass 2 came out, I got to that point and I was like, I'm not into this. I don't like this. I had to get rid of all the Mark Miller. Well,
I thought maybe you went to the Wizard and got a heart, and then you realized that you hadn't liked Mark Miller all along.
No, I liked it because I still have his Ultimates and Ultimate Avengers. I still dig those. Everything else, though, I look at it through a different lens now. I've grown as a person. I'm not who used to find some of those things funny.
Yeah. That's how I like Simon Spurrier now. And I used to really dislike. I changed. I think he changed a little bit too. So Max, who, no matter how hard you've tried, and you don't think it's because they're terrible, you think it's a vibe issue. Who do you not vibe with as a comic writer?
The current writers of NYX.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Max has a long-standing I don't get it about Lansing and Kelly, who I sometimes like, although I'm souring a little bit. But Max, they just like, which is funny because I've read some runs I really like by them, but you just like don't connect with whatever they put on the page generally.
The first thing I read by them was their Guardians of the Galaxy run, and I thought that was just awful. And then just everything after, it never really did it for me. I thought there were a few issues of NYX that were good at the start, and then it just became, I don't know, it wasn't for me. And then it's really hard to like it again because I'm kind of soured on a writer. And I do know that it's a me thing because I'm not objectively reading anymore because I go in with certain expectations that are, you know, met through my own pessimistic approach, I suppose. But yeah, I just couldn't. They never got me back.
I just thought of somebody who I don't know that I'm going to give very many more chances to, and that's Saladin Ahmed.
I'm with you.
I really liked Abbott, and then I really liked Black Bolt.
Yeah.
But
I love Black Bolt. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. And so then, of course, I'm like, oh, he wrote Black Bolt. So I'm going to start reading a bunch of his stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not vibing with this at all. So he is the one writer I would say that I have kind of a prove it to me attitude about. I'm going to need like 5 people in the chat and 6 people on an evergreen stream or something to tell me a book by him is good at this point. I'm just not going to give him a try anymore.
Well, let me tell you, it's not Daredevil. It's not.
Now's not the time.
It's not Miles Morales, and it's not Miss Marvel, which are
it's not Daredevil.
Which are the 2 books that deeply, 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 like made me realize, like, oh, he only had like that one good book in him. Maybe I have another. It's not these.
What's the Miles one? Who's the author? Excuse me, just for a sec. Who's the Miles? There's a Miles run like within recent memory or now that you like, Freddie?
Yeah, the one right
Cody Ziegler. All 3 of us like it.
Okay, Cody Ziegler. Okay, that's right. Thank you. Go ahead, everybody.
I'm still hung up on how when you say Black Bolt, you say Black Bolt. Like when I'm saying it, I'm like, black is modifying, but the bolt is black. It's Black Bolt. But you're saying it's black and it's a bolt. Black Bolt.
It's Black Bolt.
Because he can't shout. He has to do it for him. He has to emote.
Right. Yeah.
You're
right. Anyway, sorry. You know, sometimes you're hypnotized by Jess's beauty. Sometimes it's his perfectly manicured facial hair, and sometimes you miss his entire monologue because you just in your head keeps hearing in Jess's voice, "Black bolts, black bolts."
But bold.
So I know you said something there. I'm sure it was really awesome and witty, but I didn't hear a whole lot of it because I was just hearing that in a loop in my head. But I want to come back to Max for a second. Then we're going to talk about Salad and Abbott. So what's interesting about Lansing and Kelly that I found is that they love continuity so much.
Mhm.
And they mine it deep. Like they're great at like finding deep cuts. You remember, and the two characters have been on panel with each other. But then sometimes it almost feels like that was supposed to be enough. Like, and then if you don't have that reference, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, depending on the run, you're kind of like, did I miss something in that panel? Did something happen there? And I feel like and none of these things are damning, right? Like Steve Orlando over explaining is not damning. Kelly and Lansing referencing continuity is not damning. Grant Morrison caring about structure is not damning, right? And Ryan North kind of like saying, here are the jokes, it's not damning. But like, if that's the thing we don't vibe with, that's the thing that we don't vibe with. And so I just really like, it's kind of part of my repair, resolve, recover thing of like, well, it's no use just hating on them if you can't figure out the thing that you hate about it. So I don't know, just to talk about Salad and Ahmed, I don't know if I've like zeroed in on it yet, because I had the same experience with you. I loved Abbott, loved Black Bolt, and then I
Dragon came
right.
out. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, and I'm like waiting for another, because clearly the guy is brilliant and can write really well, and I'm just like waiting for a connection. But sometimes I'm happy that Marvel gives people that many chances. Like if they hadn't given Orlando that many chances, we wouldn't have Scarlet Witch, you know. So like I used to get angry, like, why is Colin Bunn writing another comic book? And then like Colin Bunn like landed on being really great at horror, and now he does horror like 90% of the time. I'm like, well, I'm happy he didn't get like drummed out of the industry before he figured out how to write Dark Arc, because I friggin' love Dark Arc.
Oh,
have you read Dark Arc?
I love Dark Arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love a lot of this stuff.
Love the Bunn because of his take on Valkyrie. Like he just brings her on every single Marvel team he does, and it's fantastic.
So to shed a bit of positivity after all the, well,
yeah, I'm ready to flip the script a little bit. I think we got to transition.
Just one thing though.
What I have a transition. What?
Well, Max has a transition, but first, Freddie's going to tell you something.
Yeah, I'm going to insult you a bit. I'm going to say I had the complete opposite experience when Riverdale first episode came out, because I love Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, who's the writer, the creator of the show. So I watched the first episode with my sister, and we both had the same odd reaction. This is Pretty Little Liars, but with Archie characters. We're just like, no, I don't want this.
yeah. Well, I remember when it started to come out, people were comparing it to Twin Peaks, and Twin Peaks is like one of my favorite shows ever. So I watched it, and I watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then things just got so silly that I just couldn't, like, hang on. But I thought, it was unique.
It'll, like, when I saw the first episode, I thought this is trash, but it's trash that people really love.
Yeah.
That's that's the thing. It's okay if you like something that we don't like. Equally opposite's gonna happen. I'm gonna love a book that you guys are gonna look at me like, ugh. And I thought we were friends.
I have to. I have to be. When I dislike a book, I need to start writing down. I should do this for books that I really like too, but I need to, because I feel like it's not enough for me to say I dislike it. Like I remember Fallen Angels, and I remembered that I disliked it, but now I'm trying to think, why did I dislike it? And I'm trying to think other books that I haven't liked. Like Kick-Ass 2, I specifically remember what I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And I can think of a bunch of other Mark Miller comics that had, and Alan Moore comics that keep returning to a certain thing that I don't like. But I can't remember why Fallen Angels fell so flat for me. And I can't put my finger on some other things that just didn't do it for me. I remember why. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? I root beard books because they sucked. I remember why I hated User and a bunch of other things. Okay, never
I
mind.
think what's interesting about Fallen Angels too is sometimes the collective unconscious kind of zeroes in on it. Like Fallen Angels was majority negative reviewed, and it's hard to find a comic that like has a majority negative response because people in comics just love to say like 4 stars, I hated it. Like they still will give it 4 stars. But Fallen Angels, sometimes it's like everybody does kind of zero in on the problem and it becomes easier to articulate. But then there's still people who like Fallen Angels. Like, I mean, we're having that right now with Sentinels, where like there is a hardcore camp that includes Max and I that thinks Sentinels is one of the worst comics we've read. I think Max, you're on that team with me. And then there's people who think it's the best book in the X-Men line, and it's like, well, but Max, you said you had you were gonna take. I have a positive, interesting topic as well, but Max, you chimed in first.
Wait, here's my transition. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Well,
gotta just let it out of your body.
well, since we brought up Ahmed and we brought up Ziegler, one thing I really appreciate about the current runs that Ziegler is writing is that he is taking things from the previous runs that haven't necessarily been regarded as very positive, and instead of disregarding them, he's taking them and making something interesting and fun out of it. Like there's a character in Miles Morales who appeared through the run in Ahmed, who is now basically a main character, like a main cast, and it's a lot of fun. Same thing for the Deadpool run, where it's basically a cast of characters from several of the previous runs.
Yeah, I feel like at first I didn't think I liked Ziegler, and I remember I hated the first issue of that Deadpool run because I don't think I understood that the thing he's really good at is kind of like taking things that were kind of not thought well of or bad or stupid and like recontextualizing them as like fun things. And once I realized that that's what he was doing, I was like, okay, that's my vibe exactly. Because I love continuity. I'm like, every terrible thing that happened to this character and in this comic and every bad story, they all count and they're all usable. You know, I never put anything like, let's put it in a box and seal it up. So once I realized that's what Ziegler is actually, his special magic is, then I was like, I totally vibe with this guy a ton. But that's actually what I was going to ask next. So, Jess, who's a writer that no matter what they do, no matter what genre they go into or what character you've never enjoyed before, you vibe 100% all vibes?
So far, I've loved everything by Jed MacKay.
You and Max are deeply obsessed with Jed MacKay.
Yeah, I really, really love him. I don't know that I've read. I feel like I've read everything that Hickman's put out, but I may not have. But I feel like I haven't read Gods yet, so I don't know. I feel like I really like everything Hickman.
Have you done his Substack thing? Three moons, one cup?
No, I haven't.
No.
Is
the
that
one cup is my own edition. It's just 3 moons.
I was just.
No, he was one of the first Substack people, right? Him and Tiny and got brought over by that grant that what's Cap is a Nazi, Nick Spencer recruited them to do. But and I was just like, I can't follow comics on a Substack. Yeah.
I generally like 2 writers. You don't, Peter. That's Mark Waid and Tom King. And I pretty much have liked everything by Ed Brubaker. I'm not all caught up. I know I'm way behind. He's got 3 crime books out. His last 3 crime books I haven't read. And I liked his Immortal Iron Fist. I will say Fractions kind of hit or miss for me. I really liked Jimmy Olsen. I really like Sex Criminals, and I'm trying to think of something. Well, the problem is if I don't like it, I generally don't keep it.
It doesn't go into long-term memory. Just like Ultimates 10 last week, you got to decide what you put in the memory and what you just decide to forget, which decades to forget.
Yeah, and Sasmurf's right. I'm not a big fan of Devin Grayson, based on User coloring my experience with everything else.
Right? Sometimes you do read one comic that like leads you to recontextualize all of their other comics, and you're like, maybe they did all bother
How
me.
did this win a GLAAD award? Didn't somebody sniff this out that this is really awful and not appropriate and everything? And then they handed this person a GLAAD award? How about a I'm really sorry award? Because that was awful.
They should really retract that. Yeah, I feel like maybe they didn't so much read that comic as so much like read a summary and looked up who the person was and was like, oh, clearly this person deserves one.
Yeah, because I'm having trouble remembering anything but
Yeah.
the thing I objected to, the thing Kristen and I both objected to in it. I can't remember anything else about it, and I'm not going to get a copy and go through it so I can find the GLAAD award-winning stuff, whatever it is, peace and love. But no, somebody, yeah, it sounds like you're right, Freddie. I don't think.
But from that, you love Brubaker, Wade, King, who's the McKay.
Also, I've liked just about everything. I've only read one mid book by Greg Rucka. I really like Greg Rucka a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now Charles Soule, I like all his big two stuff and none of his indie stuff. It is self-owned stuff.
No, not indie. It's all Image. It's super independent.
Indie. It's Image, so it's indie. Letter 44, Ick.
I love that book. That's how I discovered him. No, just not a fan.
Peter, what? Okay.
But that may be the only one that I like because but anyway, I don't really like. I
didn't care for.
I didn't like Curse Words. I didn't like the one he wrote with Scott Snyder.
Oh.
It started so good, and then it kind of Undiscovered Country. Yeah.
But that is one that I really liked. What I've read so far, I keep waiting for a big deluxe of it, but it dropped off, huh? Because it did start off really cool. Let's see. Ban Freddie for Ryan North hate. Well, James, you're a mod. Go ahead. Logan, Mark Miller, and Garth Ennis. Apart from the odd book here or there, I've read enough of their work to know that their stuff is not for me. Mm-hmm. Burgers over dating. Oh, that was yeah. Oh, yeah, Tom Taylor. I've loved everything Tom Taylor. I immediately will pick up anything by Tom Taylor.
I have another.
And I got so frustrated halfway through Nightwing. Oh, Remy didn't like Tom Taylor. Oh, well. Okay.
I have another name for you. You're going to kick yourself when I tell you.
Me?
Yeah.
That you love, have utter absolute adoration of?
And somehow skipped your memory. Kelly Thompson.
Oh, yep. Kelly Thompson.
I mean, she's the best writer in comics.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. That was a glaring error by me. You're pretty smug about it right now, aren't you?
I mean, I was gonna say her right away, but like I always say her, so I'm like, okay, let's give it a rest.
It's weird. You didn't name a single woman writer. Gail Simone, come on, Jess.
Okay.
For me, Kelly Sue DeConnick. For me, like every single thing she writes, even if it's not my favorite comic ever, I just love the perspectives, and I think. I just like characters are kind of like voiced in an authentic way that connects to whatever emotional life they're having inside. So when they just say like cool stuff, I'm like, well, why is your character saying cool stuff? And I feel like Kelly Sue DeConnick writes really good dialogue, but it always really is like about who they are fundamentally, which is a really neat trick to be able to do in a superhero comic. But I love all of her indie stuff too. I mean, her Captain Marvel is not my peak favorite. I actually Kelly Thompson's is, but I'm obsessed with FML right now. But I love Bitch Planet. I love I know that another Kelly's Pretty Deadly. I know I have another Kelly Sue DeConnick. Oh, I loved Historia, which you guys finally bullied me into reading, and I cried the whole time because I loved it so much.
Who bullied you? The three of us, or those two?
The two. I had to admit we were going to attack our 2B Red piles, and you told me that I had to read Historia, and I'm so thankful.
Oh, yeah.
For like 4 hours while I read it.
It was remarkable. I do like Kelly Sue DeConnick a lot, but I think that she channeled some upper level extraterrestrial intelligence with that book. I mean, she wrote it so well that I was just like, wow. Yeah, that book genuinely wowed me. Okay, yeah, I'm being called out on my lack of women. Okay, that's fair. That is fair. So Kelly Thompson, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Gail Simone. I really loved her Red Sonja.
Yeah.
That I just finished, which was in January.
I mean, might I posit that you might have an all positive relationship with Rainbow Rowell at this point?
Oh, yep. Yes. Fortunately, it took you, was it 2 years or 3 years? It took
7 years.
to get me to read Runaways.
That Runaways run started in 2017, Jess.
Well, it also made me read the original run by Brian K. Vaughan, who I generally like all of his stuff too. And that was a big favor because I hadn't read that, and I had to read that to understand Rainbow Rowell's run. But yeah, based on She-Hulk and Runaways, I'm looking forward to whatever she tackles next.
I think she should just always have an ongoing at Marvel. I think they should always pick who's the character who needs some love, who needs some development, who needs like a social life, and they should just hand that one to her next, right? Runaways, She-Hulk, who's next? Let's pick the next character that she should write, because I just think she brings so much, like, it's not just that she writes them with heart, it's that she just builds out their world and what they think about things, and like what upsets them and what delights them so much, and in a way that's not the same as just a book that's all about who you've got to punch and why. And she's got punching stuff, but I always come away from her books being like, wow, like I feel like I know so much about this world around this character now.
Yeah, and I think I know when it comes to something I dislike, it's when this is generally going to be a superhero comic, when the writer doesn't get the character properly. I feel like that's what I didn't like about Kevin Smith's Cacophony and Widening Gyre. It was just so out of character, all of it. Batman was out of character. Bruce Wayne was out of character. And I don't mind if I really like it when a writer will take a character in a different direction, but it still has to be sort of rooted in what we've come to know the character as. So, but I would love, I like Philip Kennedy Johnson. I don't know how any of you feel about him. I liked his. I mean, Jessica and I both really liked Warworld Saga a lot, and that had a bunch of moving parts to it. But he did something different with Superman, but he also kept him true to his hope-filled roots, stuff like that. Wait, the worst it got. Oh, that's still Nightwing. Yeah, how can you say that about All New Wolverine? What's happening?
I found that some people with Tom Taylor feel like he inserts his authorial voice too much, whether it's like the joking quality or whether it's a little bit preachy. A lot of people feel like he like makes his political positions or his social justice positions very overt in the comics, even if they agree with them. Like I know a lot of super liberal leftist people who are like, Tom Taylor, it's just too much that Tom Taylor thinks I should believe this. And which is funny because I find, I'm not trying to paint with too broad a brush here, but I find actually a lot of younger readers, younger than the four of us certainly, have bigger problems with Tom Taylor than older readers, in my experience. Not to say that nobody older dislikes Tom Taylor, I'm sure they do too. But I wonder if it's like, they're like, yeah, Dad, we know, as they're reading some of the Tom Taylor stuff.
Well, that's funny, because that's how I feel about Wade, and I love Wade.
But you're like, yeah, Dad, when you read a Mark Wade comic book.
I'm like, I get it, Wade. You don't need to put it so much forward. I still love it.
Hey, Max, we kind of let Jess steal your shine a little bit by talking about your golden favorite, Jed McKay. But do you have a number 2 after Jed McKay where you just vibe every time? Unlimited vibes? Now he doesn't have...
Now we don't hear you at all.
They wasted all the money on
Can't you...
sponsoring
doesn't your laptop or computer have a... Can't you just unplug and talk to your computer? You can't do that?
I just think it's so funny because he posts all this beautiful music, which is clearly recorded on a microphone.
Let's just ask him yes or no questions, and he can just nod his head.
What if we just do bad lip reading of Max? All right, well, we'll come back here, Matt, we'll come back. So, Freddie, did you give you kind of like slid in Kelly Thompson there, but that's like a all four endorsement. Do you have one very specific to you that just all vibes every time?
I mean, Jess got 7. Can I have 7?
Yeah,
have 7.
Don't
you
forget
7? Let's go.
You
let's go.
Let's see. Marjorie Liu, definitely. Ji Moon Yang. And Al Ewing, of course.
I haven't read enough of Al Ewing. I know you're a huge fan of his. I have a whole section still from our idea from 2 years ago to do a big Al Ewing readathon, which I'm sure I can get to in like the next 30 seconds, I'm sure, because I'm so quick on catching up with books. But I haven't even read Immortal Hulk yet. And
oh
so,
my goodness.
I know. It's ridiculous.
So what do you think Ewing does that's so unique to Ewing that makes you vibe every time?
Max
just have
no one
ideas.
see Willow Wilson yet, so there's Max.
I've been thinking, but I was like, is there a Jill Willow Wilson comic I don't like? So we'll come back to that, but she might be on mine. But first, I want to hear Freddie talk about Al Ewing.
I like Invisible Kingdom, but it wasn't my favorite. That's why I didn't count it.
Which one?
Invisible Kingdom.
Oh, I love that one.
I like that. Just didn't really
the weird nuns with 4 genders. Give it to me.
Yeah,
that was a Wilson book, right?
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, her novel was really great. What was it called? Bird Kingdom, bird, something bird.
Bird is a word.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it about Ewing? I don't know. It's something about the characters. Like nobody feels like they're not like on character. You know, like they all feel alive. They all feel like they'll make me believe that whatever is happening, whatever team situation they're in, is actually like it doesn't make me think for a moment like, oh, this is only happening because it's a comic.
Yeah, Ewing really like has very motivated plot. You know, even when it could be silly, people forget how funny he is, or it could be like deadly serious. But there's always, I think you expressed it really well. I always have like a base reaction to Ewing of like, of course Hulk can't die, of course, the Squirrel Girl is on the Avengers. Like he never really makes me doubt the veracity. Of course, X-Men Red, we're gonna have a war on Mars. I never really doubt the direction his plot is going. He always justifies it really, really well.
Like why wouldn't the U.S. Army have a American kaiju? It makes sense. I believe it. Like when Ewing writes it.
What book is that?
It is one of the Avengers books
that I haven't gotten to yet.
That you haven't gotten to. It's U.S. Avengers.
Well, I Once Upon a Time. Wait, what's the Jason Aaron book that's so good?
It's Bug Wars, Absolute Superman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, Jason. I'm actually asking Freddie. What's that? What's that Jason Aaron book? That I shouldn't have bought the trades for because it's going to get a deluxe.
Oh, the Boom book. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World.
Yeah. I only bought 2, and it's getting a deluxe.
I told you not to buy even the first one.
I know. But I stopped, and we're getting a deluxe.
Well, good. You see, Jess, you don't have to sacrifice yourself every time. Sometimes I will. I'll put myself out there so you don't have to.
Okay, wait. Let me just finish one thing on my phone. You guys talk amongst yourselves because I have this irate customer. Just a second.
Jess has got to take a break and do some customer service.
I do.
It's necessary.
I will share something that I've been, this is off on a different topic. So about, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, this essay hit social media like a bomb. And it's part of an ongoing book called The Last War in Albion that's primarily about Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and the war between them. But as a sort of footnote to that, this person, Elizabeth Sandifer, she wrote this essay about Neil Gaiman and the complete history of his life, really, his upbringing in Scientology and why his comics work like they do and why Sandman doesn't work at all, but was very, very popular, which is a very interesting take that now I think more people are open to. And when I say she wrote a footnote, it is 60,000 words. And it's free on her website. But I fell down a rabbit hole. I lost a whole day to reading it. That's the length of like a book. It gives you so much context to Neil Gaiman in a way that I'd never thought about before. And I'm a Gaiman enjoyer. I like some Gaiman stuff. But I just the whole time was like, wow. And it's 60,000 words. So then I started reading the rest of her site. And The Last War in Albion, I mean, it's like a 500,000 word critical essay that's taking each part of Alan Moore and Grant Morrison's careers and examining them like year by year and book by book, and how with all from the perspective that they are magicians, they are doing magic in the real world, as Grant Morrison outlines in Super Gods, Freddie, and they have different approaches to magic, and they're actually at war with each other through the medium of comics for control of magic. But it's also like a critical essay about like how comics are made and why we like the comics we like and what works and what doesn't. It's now whenever I'm just like 10 minutes and I'm brain dead and I'm like, what should I be doing with my time? I just like open to a random essay and read 10 minutes of the essay. So it's called, if you Google it, The Last War in Albion, Albion. You wouldn't possibly be able to spell the website name if I told you, but it's because it's called Eruditorum Press. But yeah, I could not recommend the Neil Gaiman essay any more highly. It does address some of the things that have come out in the last year, but more than that, it contextualizes how those themes have always been in the comics, and we haven't really evaluated that until now, and I just found it so fascinating.
Well,
James just put it in the chat. The name of the actual Neil Gaiman essay, very easy to Google, is, well, still hard to say, is The Cuddled Little Vice. That's really quite a theater warm-up tongue twister. Cuddled little vice, cuddled little vice, cuddled little vice. There it is on screen for you.
New York. Unique New York.
Lips, teeth, to the tongue, and the roof of the mouth.
Iriditorium Press. I jumped way. Okay, where am I going here? Max, how are you sounding now?
I have no idea. Can you hear me?
Much better.
Wow.
Perfect.
Thank the Lord.
Okay, you have the next half hour to speak nonstop and catch up. Quiet.
Okay, well, thank you for my lecture on jazz. So jazz is an art form that started somewhere in the 90s.
Okay, that was enough.
I'm glad.
Wow. Cold. That was some Omar behavior. I mean, he is near mint musician. He was asking for it.
Whoa!
That is true.
Dagger straight in the chest.
The transition thing again.
Oh, whoop. Okay, just a sec.
Yes, so jazz part 2.
Oh my God.
I mean, I came prepared. Like, I'm wearing my Miles
You're wearing what now?
Davis.
Oh, I'm wearing this woman. This was a birthday gift from Mr. Tex, who I don't see in the chat.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm wearing a poet. This is a shirt from a nonprofit that is about women. That's a women's shelter.
Commendable.
Oh, wow. I have an actual question from Mr. Shout. So that makes me happy. So the difference between bop and hard bop, bop usually refers to bebop, which is very defined by fast tempos and very virtuosic playing with difficult chord changes. We're innovated by people like Charlie Parker and Bud Powell. And hard bop is kind of like a response to that. It started in the 50s, where there's a bigger emphasis on blues. You can hear that with people like Hank Mobley and Dexter Gordon.
And how
Thank
does that
you.
compare to Cowboy Bebop?
Well, if you listen to the music, it's very hard bop inspired mostly because it's very bluesy, all the stuff that's in there.
Thank you.
When you said Mr. Shout, I was actually looking for somebody named Mr. Shout. I
Oh, just my little
forgot it was the guy
little
that's
nickname.
shouting. Yeah.
Yes. Yelly Shout.
Good on Max for resolving, repairing, and recovering from his audio issues.
Only took an hour.
That's okay. You made it. You got
Sometimes
there.
it takes a lifetime, you know?
Yes, that's true. So when are we going to talk about music? That's like my thing.
Well, you just did, Professor.
Yeah.
That is true. Yes. Talk about more genres. God, it's so awkward with my laptop.
We can talk about it whenever you want. Go. What
Okay.
Technically, the topic today is music comic pairings. Which did we do that before? I feel like we've maybe done it before, but everything's new when you have no recollection of what you've talked about in past streams.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why you drink. I can't listen to anything when reading. It's too distracting to me. I'll start like analyzing songs and everything.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I can't. I go into music analysis, music theory mode if I put on music while I'm reading.
My whole life is having headphones on, so I like the silence that it brings me.
I just realized that I needed to because I have 2 contributions to the topic, and yeah, let's celebrate. But and balloons just popped up. It was the music I listened to reading Ram V's Swamp Thing. But I listen to ambient music. That's all I can listen to. Even soundtracks to unless it's like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack, but even then, since they're soundtracks to movies or TV shows, they can get I don't want to say bombastic, but they can get really grand and loud and take my concentration away. Oh, I know. It was Pie Corner Audio. It was one of the Black Mill tapes that I listened to. I love Pie Corner Audio. I don't know that they're ambient really as much as they might be like post rock ambient. They're a little harder than ambient, but not as hard as some post rock. But yeah, Pie Corner Audio. I read with, I think it was it Ron V that wrote Green Hell? Or am I goofing that up? Who wrote Green Hell?
I think it was Ram V.
Okay. Yeah, and they paired really well together. The ambiance of the music was right in step with what I was reading, and that's completely serendipitous. I can never go to my vinyl collection and pick something out that I think will go well with the book. That was just happenstance. I just got
apparently Jeff Lemire wrote Green Hell.
Okay,
the chat
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, chat. Yeah, that was great. Great art and a great book. I'm thinking of and it wasn't Green Hell. It was Robin's Aquaman Andromeda that I read with Pie Corner Audio.
Great book.
Right. I don't remember what I listened to with Green Hell. I don't. Yeah.
I thought about the topic a little bit differently because maybe Max would identify with this. I don't know. But if I'm starting to think about music whilst I'm reading a book, then I would like write the music. Like I would never think of someone else's music when I'm reading a book. I would put the book down and write whatever music I was thinking of. That's just like how my musician brain works. So it's kind of funny to me when people are like, oh, what music does it make you think of? And I'm like, well, if it made me think of music, I would write that music. I don't know. I don't do that. It's the same way for me if somebody was like, well, who do you think would be cast as them in a movie? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm reading a book. Why would I care if they were cast in a movie? It's this very like literal autistic brain quality of mine that I'm like, why would I think of music? Am I writing a song? That said, sometimes I will listen to music and hear a song in particular that I don't personally identify with, but I like love. And then I'm like, oh, like is there a person this reminds me of or a story? And there's this one that I cannot get out of my head called Pitiful by Remy Wolf, which was my favorite record last year, Big Ideas by Remy Wolf. And this song, I mean, it's called Pitiful. It's about being pitiable. And she's saying she is pitiable. But it's the most cheerful, happy, fun, cute song that like you'll ever hear. It's just so like boppy. And I was like, what does that remind me of? Some people who are just so pitiful and yet they're just going about their day and loving life. And it made me think of Superior Foes of Spider-Man and like how they're just such losers. Did you all read that, right? By Nick Spencer and I want to say maybe Steve Lieber on art.
Yeah.
And just how they're absolute losers and they know that they know they're losers. They're not any under illusions that they're like the best in the world and that they're just like having a fun time being pitiful. And so that now that I've had that, now and it's got this like boop, 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 boop. This like very kind of, every time I hear it now, I'm always going to think of them with like Silvermane's head and Shocker and like Boomerang. Like that's always going to come into my head every time I hear that song now.
That book's been out of print for like 8 years. Does it ever show up highly on the Marvel reprint poll?
I don't know. I'm not part of the administration of that one. So I never really look at the reprint poll results. But I think Nick Spencer has fallen out of favor so much that people are not really like demanding it anymore.
It's such a great book. It's so hard to find. And it was inexpensive. It's a thin omnibus. Has he fallen out of favor because of his Spider-Man or is it his behavior or why is he falling out?
It's
fell out of favor with me. Never finished Morning Glories. Do you hear me, Nick Spencer? Finish it.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back to something that Peter just said, because I do the same thing when I'm reading something. Any kind of book, can be a comic, can be prose or anything, or it could be a film I liked. It usually leaves you with a distinct feeling of something, and then I try to capture it up by writing music. So there's a lot of songs I wrote after reading, like I wrote something after reading, I don't know, Hellboy. Like I read all the Omnis, and then I was like, oh, this has a very distinct like feel to it, and then I try to convert that into music. But I never really have something that reminds me of a song unless someone is quoting a lyric or something, you know? Like Colin Bunn does that with his Deadpool run quite frequently, where he quotes The Warrior by Scandal. And then I'm like, well, okay, because the lyrics are there, but otherwise, no. I'll hear melodies and everything, but nothing already existing.
Did you read Scott Pilgrim?
Yes, but after I saw the film.
Okay, because in the very beginning of that book, and I showed it back when I was keeping my friend trapped in his own home. There's a part of the book where in the very beginning, where it shows you like the chords to play along with Scott.
That's cool.
I love that. I love when books have.
That's fun.
Oh, it's this word I learned from Zach Rabaroff, but I bet Max knows it too. Diegetic music, meaning like the music is in the story. Yeah. It's motivated in the story, but then they also give you like, it's not just like somebody humming something, like they'll hum something and the sheet music comes out of the humming, but it's actual sheet music and you sit down and you realize it's playable. I love that. That's my favorite trope in all of comics. I will always run to the piano and lose hours at the piano, which makes me really feel like the book was like a valuable buy because I'm like, I got hours of enjoyment out of it. Philip Kennedy Johnson, who I don't always like, he does that a lot because he's a musician and he will put like real chords and real lead sheets and real melodies in his book. And I will lose hours and hours sitting down and writing them. The other thing that's like that, I know off topic, but sometimes authors will put actual logic problems in their book, like actual, like if A then B, but B then C, but A and C can't be one. And Matt, what is his darn name? Mind management guy, Matt
Kint.
Matt Kint tends to do that in his books, and that's another one where like I love any book that has an extracurricular activity, like as if I'm going to go cut out paper dolls or something. Any extracurricular activity that makes me go and experience life in some other way, like I get out a pen and paper for a logic problem, I sit at the piano, anything like that. I love when books have diegetic music and it's actually like playable in the book.
Well, I liked that in The Last God. I don't think you care for that book. Krisis, I'm not sure.
I loved that book. It had one page I wish I could just rip out of it so I could enjoy the book better. But I love that artist. What is that artist's name?
Riccardo Federici.
Oh,
yeah.
He just did issue 3 of Last Gods last month with Ram V.
Oh, okay.
Or not Last Gods, New Gods, the New Gods.
New Gods. I know that in Last God that Philip Kennedy Johnson wrote all the old style music. I mean, as far as being back in like the time period, he transposed it from current notes and stuff, and then made up all those songs with the notes back in the olden style of set in the time period. And I thought that was pretty amazing. All that interstitial stuff, all the stories, all the real word prose stuff in there, that book, you have to read that because it gives you context and helps build the world in that. You definitely can't skip it. And all the effort that went into writing the music and then placing it back in barbarian times or whenever it was, I thought was a remarkable achievement.
And I also really appreciate that from the perspective of, how small the audience is, of your relatively small audience of comic readers to begin with. I mean, comics are a labor of love. Nobody's making these books to be rich and famous at this point. To then, on top of that, spend all of that extra energy to build in that kind of stuff, or like an alternate reality game or a logic puzzle or whatever the thing is, that's going to accentuate it. That just makes me fall in love with the book even more, because I'm like, this person they really had something they needed to do. They really cared. They really were intent that they were going to set up this world, And I think I have that's part of my reaction to FML right now by Kelly Sue DeConnick, that it's very grounded in the underground zine scene, and that she's like basically making a miniature zine in the back pages of every book. And I love it because it's like back matter, but then sometimes there's like a little thing to do at home, or like a craft or something, or like a page to go check out. And I just love comics that add without demanding. It's not like, this scene will only make sense if you listen to it along with this record. It's just like additive. I love comics that are additive and like give me more to digest, more to think about.
Let me see if I can.
As opposed to a scene that's like, get out your QR reader to see the advanced, the 3D content from this page. Then I'm like, no, fuck you. I don't. Screw you. I am no.
Lars, when it comes to OmniDog's opinion of Alan Moore's treatment of women, Lost Girls. Yeah, I had a problem with that. And Birth Scene in Miracle Man, I haven't actually read that since it came out in singles. So I don't remember. But I would throw in Killing Joke in there. I would throw in some parts of From Hell. I would throw in part of Neonomicon as... vile treatment of women.
I adore the movie. When I read the comic, oh my gosh.
From Hell?
No, V for Vendetta.
Oh, V for Vendetta. Oh, right.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Alan Moore?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris says I've liked everything by Zoe Thorogood, John Allison, and Greg Rucka. Nice.
I love John Allison. I've been loving everything John Allison has done since 1998. I can't believe he's still making comic books. And I'm so happy that he is, because I remember reading his web strip, Bobbins, every single week. in the 90s, or maybe it started in 2000. It was a long time ago. I started reading Goats in 1998, which is how I found Bobbins, because it crossed over with Bobbins. Back in the webcomic days, when the internet was new and everybody was just doing webcomics, and that's what digital comics were.
Omnicat is the one that hipped me to John Allison's work.
His sense of irony will make me laugh every time. Like, there's something about his sense of humor that just like gets me every joke.
Kane, I really think you should give Lazarus another shot. I think book 4 is coming out soon.
I just pre-ordered it.
I'm very excited for that. I really, really love that book. Krisis, I give Salmon several chances, never got all the way through. I don't bother with Gaiman even before recent events. His phony persona. Okay. I don't trust that was really Harvey, because that was not in all caps. So was that your wife you had typed that? Hello, Marcelo. Fifth of Jack, 8 Billion Genies. I didn't even bother because I knew it wouldn't do it for me.
Was I the only person that told you that don't even bother with 8 Billion Genies, Jess?
I think you said that, and that was enough.
Okay.
I just said I followed my instinct there. Freddie backed it up. I don't need to.
Yeah.
The concept sounded interesting.
Because there was another book that we did that we never revealed the title. That happened with me and Kristen telling you, like, no, sell it before you even read it. It was a Kickstarter.
Oh, was that by Solid and Ahmed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in my sell pile.
Oh, you still haven't sold it? I thought you did.
I was going to give it away, and then I realized, maybe I shouldn't give it away. Maybe the viewer will hold it against me if it's that bad.
It's a free book. I don't think they will.
Okay, I'll put it. I'm going to try and have a giveaway sometime this month to celebrate OmniDog still being on this earth for another rotation of the sun. I'll throw that in if somebody wants it, even though we just badmouthed it.
At most, they'll resent you that they're gonna want to keep it because it came from you.
Yeah, I'll put the OmniDog stamp in it and sign it.
That certification, you gotta stamp it.
Yeah. I don't even want to bring that up. I've heard this about Heart in a Box. I've heard that, but I have not read it.
I love Heart in a Box.
You
did.
It's just one of her really, really early books.
Okay. Dana agrees with Harvey, something that doesn't often happen. Not Dana, somebody agreeing with Harvey. That's what I meant. I need to read The Cull. Damn it.
Yeah.
Love it. I mean, it does kind of feel like a pitch for something longer. And I know that's partially because Matteo De Lewis is not the fastest artist in the world. I mean, he's pretty fast for the quality of his stuff. And he's about to be doing 2 issues of Absolute Wonder Woman with Kelly Thompson. But yeah, I was like, just 4? Like, it feels like that just kind of introduced the idea. And it was a great idea. And I really, really liked it. But I was like, now I want to keep living in this world.
And is it supposed to be a continuing series, or has she just not gone back to it?
May or may not. I don't know that I've heard anything official. I think she was focused on doing the second arc of Black Cloak at that point, and so wanted to get Black Cloak to the end of the second arc.
Black Cloak. I need to read that. He said about every book he's ever owned. Hope the Runaways return at some point. There's such a fun. And Krisis says a new book is coming out, writing a new Runaways. And nice. We'll check that out. Rainbow Rowell does the Exterminators ladies.
She would be a good one to put on like a supporting X book.
I loved Exterminators, and that's one Barr hipped me to. I think a severely underrated writer right now is Luana Vecchio. While Lovesick was a tough read, I've read the description for Lovesick, and it doesn't sound appealing to me, Remy.
I had to put it down, and the sequel as well. It was a do not finish for me. Not because it was bad, it just was topically I couldn't hang.
Right, that's what I heard. Marjorie Liu and Alex DeCampi. I agree with that. I've read a couple of good things by Alex DeCampi. Very, very grateful to Halo Tango. Very grateful to Tom Taylor. And Justice got me into comics. That's nice. Here's Johnny representing Finland. Nice. Bad words for Ewing. I have only venom. Oh, I thought you said I only have venom for him. I only have venom from him, and that turned me off. Venom. But bouncing back between writers might possibly be part of the problem.
Yeah, that Venom run. I hold forth that Ewing was really tired in 2022 and 23, and he just needed like a beach vacation or something. All of his books got like really like doughy for like a solid year across all publishers, and now it starts to feel like the Ewing verve. Maybe he's going through something difficult in his personal life. You know, we don't know. But I did sense a trend across all Ewing books that they got really not to full Ewing quality for about a year there.
Logan, thank you for getting that surfing bird joke. That was 45 minutes ago, but I still appreciate it. That's not you, that's me. It's a me problem. Harvey couldn't. Disgusting, garish coloring was enough for me. Among the worst of modern art. Yet Krisis says the Cull is my favorite art in all of comics. Well, wonderful. That is
If I've heard somebody speak eloquently about comics, it's definitely not Harvey.
Harvey has some very eloquent things about comics. I've discovered our tastes have a little keyhole of intersection in the middle, and then mostly exist at these two other places.
Yeah.
It's just you see all that detail in the Cull. That's not what he wants.
Cairo, Air, The Dreaming, and I really loved Invisible Kingdom. And Lars told me that I had a negative opinion about Books of Magic. I think the Sandman Universe Books of Magic. So I don't even have them in my collection, which means I probably sold them, and I'm really surprised at that. I think that was you, Lars. I'll have to double check that, because that.
Wasn't that getting a deluxe? Maybe that's why.
The Books of Magic, Sandman Universe.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to buy those omnibuses for so long, and one of them keeps like briefly going out of stock everywhere. And I'm like, well, that's it. You missed your chance. And then it comes back into stock, which it is right now. And I'm like, oh, I know that I don't read omnibuses. I don't read them. I can't tell you the last time I read an omnibus, not for the purposes of like an evergreen show or like a map or something, but I just want them. I want them. I want my precious.
Which book?
The Books of Magic, the 3 omnibuses of Books of Magic.
Oh, these 3 crazy 1,500-page books? They're so intimidating. I love the first one back in singles, but I just can't get myself to commit. They're both so honking. Johnny from Finland. Oh, this has to do with the Jason. I don't think Jason there. I mean, I don't think Freddie bought the trades. I'm the one that bought the.
I did.
Oh, you did?
That's why I told you not to buy them, because as soon as I read the first one, I was like, "This is getting a deluxe."
Okay. Subtext is super real, but not everybody can see it. I believe that. Okay. Why isn't Sanctuary so damn slow? Any clue? No, but I will tell you that you can go to Organic Price Books and use code OmniDog for $2 off, or 5% shipping 4 more books together. Using code OmniDog sit. What a segue! Thank you. Alan Moore, LOL, Logan Wayne, Get on Max, Brief Bop, yeah. I will allow this question briefly. Wait, you can't say jazz trio and then, it's a different question. All right. Who's your favorite jazz trio coming from a jazz bassist?
Well, if you're a jazz bassist, you should check out the there's this album by Walt Smith III called Twio, TWIO, with Christian McBride. I love Christian McBride, so you check it out. But there's a trio that you would actually like, Jess, which is the Bad Plus. You should really check out the Bad Plus.
Haven't you recommended them to me before?
Yeah, you still haven't listened to them. You should probably do that.
I actually did listen to them, Max.
I don't think you
I
did.
did. Yeah, but I value your friendship too much to tell you what I thought.
You can be honest. You can admit you have bad taste. No, it's fun. It's it's like a punk jazz band. So they just beat the shit out of everything. I really like them.
I just didn't vibe with it.
That's fine.
As we've established on this stream, vibes are very important.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We all support toys for people.
Well, that's true.
Different.
I heard Jess is gonna have a toy stream.
Yes,
I am, but Max can't make it.
No, I cannot.
But Freddie
Because of the
can't.
time that I have to work.
The problem is that it's on my birthday, and I don't know. I have to get permission from upper and junior management to see if I can stream that day. They may have plans, and I can't go to them and say, "Hey, I'd like to stream on my birthday." Okay, and they would it would not go well.
Here's a toy. There we go.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Johnny can't read with background music either.
Wait, was that one of your Japan related toys?
Yes.
Ah.
Thank you. My friends picked this up for me in Japan, and it came out the day that they left, so they barely get it, and it still isn't out here yet. So,
what is your next Mayfex toy that you want, Max? Do you have something in
Rogue.
mind?
Well,
Rogue?
yeah, I have the Rogue one on pre-order, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Social match with Gambit, but I think that's the only toy I have. And the recently announced X-23, maybe. I don't know.
What's your costume on that? Is that a Uncanny X-Force costume? Okay.
It's a 2-pack with Warpath.
Warpath.
But I'm not sure because I need to pay for another recording day, and those things are expensive. So kind of watching the expenses.
Okay, so that's your next Mayfex that you want.
Mm-hmm.
I have that pre-ordered also, but I don't know what else is coming out Mayfex wise.
I'm not sure either. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get the Daredevil one because that's unanimously praised thing. It looks really good.
Really fast, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, very, very quickly. Yeah. And there's rumors of a leaked Marvel Legends that's upcoming that I'm very excited for.
And what is that of?
That's Shumagorath or Shumagorath, however you want to pronounce it.
Oh my gosh, how big is it going to be?
Build-A-Figure?
No, it's supposed to be like a deluxe, I think.
Oh.
But I think it's based on the line that they're doing on the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, so it might be smaller to fit that kind of scale. But it'll go well with bats and stuff.
I hate to get back to music when we're actually talking about toys, but this is the book I was thinking of. Remy actually brought up Nights by Wyatt Kennedy. There's a playlist each issue comes with. I have the first one, and I just ordered the second one. And if there's lyrics, I'm not going to be able to listen to it while I read the issues.
Mm-hmm.
If there's lyrics, but I will play the playlist afterwards. And I don't even know how to pronounce this, Ilan. Kjetil Mulid's piano works is excellent. I love his albums.
Although the one comic that I've actually managed to read with music on was I hate Fairyland #5 because it has a QR code in the first page that tells you like you need this song. The whole issue is the lyrics like on the background of what's going on, and it literally plays. It's like reading a lyric music video. So it's a very interesting experience.
Okay, I haven't read I Hate Fairyland in years. I just got volume 3. I'm going to stop saying I need to read that because
At least the first 5.
I like listening to ambient music like Steve Roach and Brian Eno. Yes. Or instrumental film scores while reading anything. Anything by Alexandre Desplat is good.
I love him. He's incredible.
Oh, what is he? Is he a jazz something or other, or what is?
No, he's a film composer.
Oh, wow! Breaking out of your box. Good for you, Max. Like what films would I know by him? Any?
Did you see Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio?
No.
You should. It's very good. It's also very. There's like fun orchestration in there because Pinocchio, as you know, is made out of wood, and all the instruments that they use are wood instruments. So yeah, that's fun.
Oh. What were you the one that told me that I need to see Willy Wonka, the musical? You said it was so great.
Yeah.
Like The Family?
Yeah, he watched it like 10 times.
Sorry?
He watched it like 10 times.
I think I watched it 3 times in the movie theater, yeah.
Every time I talk to him, he's like, I'm going to go back and watch it. I just came back from it.
I'm a Wonkaholic.
There's a whole
Just can't get enough.
The next movie I'm watching from the comfort of my own home is for this Saturday's show with Jessica, and it is Ignora. Anora.
You should go in. I don't know how much you know about the film,
Nothing.
but just
Zero.
Go in blind. But yeah, just don't give up. Because I've talked to some people.
Don't give up. That's not the big selling line.
The thing is, I really like the film, but certain people kind of got hung up on how explicit the first part of the film is. But it makes sense narratively. It's not just there to be gratuitous for the sake of being gratuitous.
Okay. Well, it won't turn Jessica off. She was raised on slasher films, so it won't turn her off.
Yeah, we talk a lot about films.
Sorry?
We talk a lot about movies together.
You and Jessica?
Oh.
I didn't know she was cheating on me with you.
Well, you know, younger model.
I don't know that you should refer to her. You shouldn't refer to her that way.
Well, that is true. Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was referring to you that way, Jess.
I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to ignore it. I love nights, but sometimes I do feel like making the playlist work with the issue takes me out sometimes.
I read Nights #1, and it was almost a do not finish, and it's hard for me to not be able to make it through one comic book, but it was just, it had so many words in the dialogue balloons talking past each other in this very Joss Whedon way that I was like, I don't know if I need this in my life right now. But so then I was like, I can't keep reading it because I barely finished the first one. So I took it off my pull list. And then I kept seeing people talk about it. And there were like people whose opinions I tend to agree with. So I was like, all right, maybe I'm just going to pick up one later issue and give it a chance. And so I happened to read Nights 13 a week or two ago. And I absolutely loved it. It happened to be a one-shot issue, which I think helped me. But it was like so stylish and so clever. And I loved the world building. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to go back and read Nights, which to me was like a recommendation for sometimes even on an indie book. Sometimes it's fun to just indie. It's from Image, so it's indie. Sometimes even on an indie book, it's fun to go back and pick up like a random issue. Like sometimes sometimes it's not there yet on #1. Sometimes it's still gelling. Sometimes the style is not set. Sometimes it just feels like introduction and the story's not all the way there yet. So I'm just trying to like embrace the idea of like just read random issues more. Comics are not all. We got to let go of the reading order, obsession, and sometimes we just have to pick up a comic and see if we like it. So now I like Knights. If I had just gone by my opinion, just like Cody Ziegler and Deadpool, I actually did the same thing on Deadpool. Max was saying how good it was, and I was like, you must be wrong, Max. And so I skipped. I think for one of the near mint conditions streams that we did together, I think I skipped issues like 2 through 5, and I started with issue 6, and I was like, holy crap, this is good. I don't know if I've still read issues 2, 3, and 4, but I love it now.
Max, have you not been reading comics? Because it's been like 3 weeks since I've gotten your weekly reviews.
Oh, no, I've been reading. I've just been... Yeah, I can send them again if you like.
You've just been ignoring me?
Well, now that he has Jessica,
We need to set up like an RSS feed from the sheet, Max, where it just live streams right to Jess. All of the nice review column streams to Jess. So Max lore, deep Max lore. Max, I gave Max the Krisis spreadsheet that I've always used, but I cleaned it up enough for Max to play test it for me that I've been promising for Jess for 7 years. Now Jess read Runaways, so I have to give him my spreadsheet. So Max asked for one alteration different from my norm. He said, I want one column to say how I really feel, and then I want one column to say what I'll tell Jess about the comic.
I have noticed that he's trying to be positive on it, and he'll say, this is a book, or this has nice colors. I'm like, oh, well, he's trying to be positive.
There's not a typo in the entire issue.
Right.
I think
you can't say that about a Todd McFarlane comic, so he's not talking about
Spawn. I think my favorite Jess review was this issue had characters that remind you of other runs that were very good.
I love a backhanded compliment. I love it.
Yeah. Superior Foes Spider-Man, place number 29 on VFC Marvel Omnibus. Okay, good. Thank you, James.
There you go, it's almost back in your hands, Jess. That's just as good as being printed. 29.
I didn't want to say it, but I felt it was close to number 25. Thank you, James.
Okay. I know in Kurt. Okay, how am I?
I don't know if it's Pierce or Pyres.
Youth, for example, he actually leaves a narration box with ALEXAs playing said song, and you read the following scene or chapter. Alexa, play Women in Punk Rock. Alexa, don't. I love that with Youth. One of the few times that ever fully worked with me. Okay, so let me read this again. He actually leaves a narration box with ALEXAs playing said song, and you read the following scene or chapter. Okay.
Jess, who is your favorite woman in punk?
My favorite woman in punk? I think my favorite group was Lilliput. Whoop. Lilliput. They were... There we are. They were... I think I could put my hands on the album. They were from Germany back in the mid 80s. I also love Slater Kinney. Lilliput was they were described as sort of Dadaist punks, and I'm not really up on my Dadaism, so I just like how hard it rocked and how deconstructed it was. But I also love Belly, although I guess they're not really punk. I think the Deal Sisters are awesome. I saw the Contractions in concert. They were great, but that was like 1984. There's good question.
What was the question that was during? I was having a little internet breakdown.
I asked Jess who his favorite woman in punk was.
Oh.
Sonic Youth's not really punk. I love Kim Gordon.
How dare you?
They are punk?
I mean, they're
Yeah.
punk in attitude, but I don't think they're punk in genre.
I gotta say,
I
this
agree with
is my biggest issue with people who are like punk heads. The whole this is or isn't punk, it really annoys me because like the first punk bands that that to me are like originators of punk would be people like Stooges, but also like some Velvet Underground stuff is also very punk. But it's also people who are basically just doing rock and roll in a very punk way. And I think
Well,
that
I think
applies
that's absolutely it.
to a
I
lot
think
of
there's
stuff.
punk that's a musical genre that like has specific musical form, right? But then there's punk as an aesthetic to breaking norms, and that punk aesthetic doesn't always sound like a thing. So it's like when you're saying punk, you almost need like both are punk. So yeah, I would Sonic Youth is punk in that way. I thought we were talking about punk as a genre. But because I say things, I have music that I know in my heart is punk because it's deconstructing the norms of whatever version of music it is, but it doesn't sound like punk music to me.
Yeah, I am of the same way. I know what Max is saying, and I also know exactly what Krisis is saying.
I came to X-Ray Specs relatively late. I just like never really heard them until pretty recently, and I was like, oh, this is clearly a missing Jenga block in my tower of women in punk and rock that I like somehow totally overlooked.
You know what? I don't think I've ever heard X-Ray Specs.
Oh, Jess, it's very scrappy punk music from like, what are they, like late 70s, early 80s?
Gosh, I'm a fraud. Okay, let me write it down. I know exactly who you mean. X-Ray.
They formed in 1976 in London.
Specs.
Polystyrene is the singer. Yeah.
45 Grave. They were a good punk band. They had a female lead singer. This is Lilliput. I kept the stickers on. The best song on here, in my opinion, is no. They sing in German, so I have no idea what they're saying. Yeah, maybe you understand it better than I do, Max. Since didn't you tell me Dutch is like the bastard child of German or something?
Something like that, yeah.
That sounds like something you'd say.
Probably, yeah, it does.
Eisinger Wind. Man, Eisinger Wind rocks really hard by Lilliput.
Have you heard Annabelle Chairlegs?
Say it again?
Annabelle Chairlegs, have you heard her? With that
No.
band? I like that band.
I also love Exmal Deutschland. I saw them live in '85.
More Deutschland.
Yeah, they were great. Although, they were German. Eisinger Wind is spelled EISIGER Wind by Lilliput. So have ALEXA play that.
Ooh, this is a rare chance to plug one of the most obscure things that I enjoy. There's this band called Red 5. I saw them open for Tracy Bonham in 1996, and there were two female front people, both playing guitars, so similar setup to Veruca Salt. And I totally fell for them. I'm like, oh, they're going to be huge. This is really big. And that was like towards the tail end of the big women in rock resurgence. And the label like wouldn't put out their second record, and then they broke up briefly and they're back together, and they kind of just disappeared. And so I've always had this one Red 5 record that I could sing you every song straight through. I know every note on it. And I kind of just thought they were one of these disappeared music acts. And I always wonder about that. Sometimes I'll think about some act I used to like that totally went away. And I think that unless they all died, let's hope not, those people exist somewhere. Like, what did they do? Did they go on to become music executives? Did they go to college and now they're accountants? Like, where do they work in a thrift shop? Like, who are they? Where did they go? And I looked them up, and a couple of years ago, they got all the rights to their masters back from their label, and they put out a big digital compilation that you can stream on Spotify of basically every song they ever recorded together as a band. And they're called Red 5. It's not revolutionary. Red 5. I forget if it's the number or the word. It might be the number. But if you search both, you'll find it. I would describe them as a much poppier L7.
Okay. I love L7.
Yeah, but I love them. And it was one of those magical moments where I found it. I like randomly searched them, and I've searched them so many times since 1996. And it came up on Spotify, like a whole album of Red 5 that I'd never heard of. I was I was like so excited, bouncing up and down because I couldn't believe it's like when you like search for like more of a comic run that you've always loved, and all of a sudden there's a new issue out or like a new collection. You just have that moment of like freak out little kid. I can't believe it. So they're my obscure fave. I've never heard a living person. I think sometimes I hallucinated seeing them at that concert and having their album. I've never heard anybody else on earth know who they are or reference them.
Well, both X-Ray Specs and Red 5 I will listen to in the next couple days, because besides reading, I am going to put together not only the spider doors, but all the figures that go with Galactus. And I'm going to try and put together some type of X-Men diorama with the HasLab Sentinel I have.
Sounds like content.
Sorry? Oh.
Sounds like content.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. I couldn't play the music, but you're right.
You could listen to music on earphones and just like have a like live build with Jess. It could be ASMR. It could just be you could just put your microphone next to you putting the figures together and just hear all the clicking.
I can put a playlist in there like the comics. I'll put Jess's playlist while he's playing with his action figures.
There's this drag queen I love who just did a stream of her putting together that Lego cat that everybody has this year, the tuxedo cat. Yeah. And like she's talking and being a goofball during some of it, but some of it is her just intently putting together the Lego cat. And that's content. She looked at that and she said, that's content.
I will mention some punk bands. Les Butcherettes, also female, very interesting because she dresses up very 1950s housewife. So
Les Butcherettes or Les Butcherette, like French?
Yeah, like kind of French, okay. but they're Mexican.
Okay, so kind of Mexican.
Yeah, okay. And obviously Paramore right now. I mean, Hayley Williams with how she hits that whistle note, it's crazy.
I've seen them live so many times, and her vocals are unreal. She makes high things not sound high because she places them so perfectly in her range, and then you like go home and you sing and you're like, I can't even squeak that.
Like that is not how the human voice works, and somehow it does for her.
Is Paramore a real? Are they punk?
It's a real punk. Like
I know the group pop punk,
but now it's turned very more overtly punk.
Oh, really?
But I would also say that they have, when she went and did her solo stuff, like Petals for Armor, that had a definite jazz influence to it, which I think came back and could be felt as an undercurrent on the record that has This Is Why. Is the LP called This Is Why? I just know that song is my theme song. This Is Why I Don't Leave the House. That's the Krisis song. But but yeah, there's like a little bit of like jazzy spaciness that underpins their pop punk now, which I really enjoy. And I have every Paramore song ever committed to record. I'm a huge Paramore fan.
Because when she signed, it's very interesting. She signed into the label when she was like 17. And they immediately wanted her to be a solo act. And she was like, no, I have a band. We're gonna be a band. She really pushed for that. And then they got huge. And as it usually happens with these things, they're under a really strict contract because she signed it when she was underage. Yeah. And they finally have like full control of themselves. So that's why they got a bit more punky and more like it switched from just being concentrated on her vocals to like more on what's going on with the entire band. But
I also love when you go back and listen to those first couple of records, like they were 17-year-olds some of the parts, especially the drums, they were very, very advanced. They do not sound like somebody who's, I mean, just because you're 17 doesn't mean you're new to music. But to think that some of those guitar parts and bass parts, but especially drum parts, were coming from teenagers is just wild. They're not scrappy. They're very, very polished.
Here's an actual comics question from over half an hour ago.
Nah. Yeah, nah.
As you probably heard, Detective Comics by Mariko Tamaki is getting an omnibus this August. Any thoughts? Is it any good? I thought it was slightly above average. Those are just my thoughts. It was above average.
I will say that talking about the vibes conversation from like an hour and a half ago, with Tamaki, a lot of times I love her independent stuff, obviously. Whenever she wades into superhero, if she gets a character that only has that one book, I'm like, it's too slow. Like when she's She-Hulk, I'm like, I don't have the time to fall in love with this story that you're telling. Because it was Detective Comics and there's 1,000 Batman comics, I actually loved it for Batman. So I'm like, you want to spread out, you want to take a long time, you want to talk about Batman's neighbors, you want to talk about how thin the walls of his townhouse are. I got all the time in the fucking world for that, because there's 800 Batman titles that I could read at the same time. So for that reason, it actually really, really worked for me, that deliberately slow approach. And I actually really like the storyline. I don't know that I'm saying it's amazing 5-star comics. I think I'd put it one notch above average. I'm one notch higher than Jess. But I'm saying I liked it on Batman better than I've liked her on other superhero books.
Well, that makes me feel like I need to go back and reread it then.
No, I think we got the same thing from it, Jess. I think you're just here and I think I'm here. I think it's just like that.
I think Kelly Thompson said in an AMA that she was interested in going back to the call, but has other projects she is focusing on.
Yeah, Matthias also working on some more stuff.
I love him so much.
We're back to Alan Moore. There's Hondo. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has a bad Invisible Man in hide scene, so maybe not just women.
Oh, they go on. There's a long riff about Alan Moore in the chat that you're just now reaching.
Oh, I'm probably not going to be able to put it up.
Yeah,
although
I don't know if you're going to put it all up.
Comedian.
Yeah, Watchmen's definitely one of the more toned down events.
Books Magic is so good. They're my favorite comfort read. Okay, good. Oh, yeah, you sent me a link to this, James. You need to check out Missing on the Moon, Day of the Dead Girl, and the Tin Can Society.
Tin Can Society is like the hit of the world right now. Nobody had been reading it. It feels like nobody was talking about it. And I think issue 6 just had such a good cliffhanger that people started talking about it. So then I caught up on it this week. So then I mentioned it on my stream, and then like 5 people went immediately and read it and then reported back to me like, this comic is amazing. It's in my top 10 of the year. It kind of just feels like it hit out of nowhere this week, and everybody I know is talking about it all of a sudden. I think it just was like a chain reaction. Like a couple influencers somewhere higher up started talking about it, and it just trickled down, But yeah, Tin Can Society, top recommendation for me right now. It's on issue 6 of 9. So Jess, you've just got to wait for it to be over, probably. Unless you're going to read it on Global Comics, which I love Global Comics. It's just as expensive as Marvel Unlimited and has so much indie stuff. It's the way Comixology used to be before Amazon ruined it. And some little indies are releasing directly onto Global Comics, even if it's not day and date. Some of them are releasing like 2 weeks later, but they just put that. There's no way you can buy things a la carte, but the subscription is like $8 a month. So why would you not? If you're going to buy 2 comics a month, you should just subscribe.
Bunk. Longtime viewer, first time poster, wondering what comic you would pair with OmniDog, OmniBrog, Just Brag Song at a Cavs game. I'll take my answer on the replay. That's a good question. What comic would pair with the song? And if you want the full minute, which I can't play because Nate decided to put it on an album of his, it's a full minute of stop motion Am I explaining it right? It's that all that stop motion stuff that he cut out from construction paper and then wrote the whole song. That's on my in my library, and it's worth listening to because it's also worth watching. It's really an amazing kind of cartoon that he created. So I would say that you watch the video and that's the comic you would read.
Oh, I have a better answer. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl #1.
I'll say Marvel Unleashed.
Oh,
That's the one I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah.
That or
It's,
Gwenpool.
it's very like silly, and that's got that great dog, the D-Dog.
Bats?
Dog.
No,
Oh,
it's
who's D-Dog?
Demolition Man, D-Man's dog. It's the D-Dog.
I think Bats is in it as well. Bats is in
Yeah,
Unleashed.
that's in it. All the animals are in it at some point.
Yeah, Max and I share have a shared love for bats.
Yes, pretty much all dogs. You should also pick up the Marvel Mutts thing. It's just very cutesy, but it's just like what do you call it when there's no words? Silent. Silent.
Yeah.
With just short little skit. It's basically Jeff, but a dog.
And speaking of dogs, you have really blown me off on sending me pictures of Coco. What's the deal?
should-
Is our friendship over?
No. Look, my mom sent me this one
Well,
today.
that's great, but you didn't send it to me.
But you're seeing it now.
No, look at that doggy. She's so cute. I love that dog.
Who did you forward that to? To Omar? I bet it was Omar.
Oh, don't even try. Stop.
No.
I'm going to go to the Netherlands just to visit that dog.
It's going to really confuse my parents, but sure.
Totally bypassing Max.
Hey, Jess and crew. I'm a huge Miller fan, and you have been a fan of Magic Order. Is it like Miller from old, or has his writing evolved? I did a whole, I released it last Friday. What day is today? Tuesday. I released it Friday, Aku. You can watch my overview and review. It's, there. I think it's his best writing in years. It's got great twists in it. It's got lots of magic battles and stuff like that. But there's if the Miller of old, if you're thinking, it's very safe to read. It's okay to read. It's got I mean, there's some swear words, but there's no gratuitous nudity or S*X in it. It's really, really good. You can buy that, and I would advise getting the library edition because the first two trades have art by the second one's Stuart Immonen and the first one's Olivier Coipel, and the art is gorgeous and the story is great. There's
Probably my favorite Miller comic.
Magic Order.
Yeah.
I think so too. It is really awesome. I enjoyed it. Oh, well, Crushing answered. It's Miller being Miller, but I love the rules of the magic world he's built, like a very bloody take on Zatanna. Totally. Yeah. It has a lead character. She's like Zatanna, and she's a bit of a screw up, but she ends up being the hero of the first two stories. She takes on both the other magician groups that come after her family and the Magic Order themselves. And the Magic Order is the reason we don't see ghosts or werewolves or anything, because they're out there to protect humanity. So I highly recommend it, Aku. Check out my video. That it will do a better job of explaining it than I just did now. If Freddie does a toy stream, he can't leave 30 minutes into the stream like VFC and SSD did.
That was the strangest stream I've ever seen, Jess. Because it started off as a toy stream, so I was like, okay, that's cool. But I like tune in later because I was recording. But then I watched it on replay, and it was like, it was a toy stream for about 40 minutes, and then you went on for an additional 4 hours just living your life.
Yeah, I took the chat upstairs when I made a cup of coffee. Those guys wanted to do a stream, and they both bounced after like 30 minutes. And I'm like, but there were like 50 or 60 people watching, and I thought, well, as long as I have viewers, I'll talk to the viewers if they want, and that's what viewers were interested in that day. Just getting a room tour, going up for a cup of coffee, showing off books. They were interested in slice of life, and as long as I had viewers, I said I'll keep going. And they said, let's do this every week. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do it once a month. I had a show that night again at 8, and I was exhausted.
Yeah,
Is that your current record?
People don't realize, like, after you hit that 3-hour mark, your brain is mush. You can't remember anything that happens afterwards. Like,
I have trouble remembering the first 40 minutes, so 3 hours, yeah.
No, like after 3 hours, I could be saying a bunch of crimes against humanity and.
Oh, thank you, the dog. I've been listening to Atmospheric Chill, loving it through Daredevil. I'm glad my recommendation helped you, Joey. That's good. Okay, yeah, you're right. There is a lot of that. I'm counting on the opening of Ignore to be nothing short of a strong hook for Jess.
Yeah, that tracks.
Harvey Har. Okay. Krisis is frozen. Krisis, you're frozen. No, you're not. You're fine now. This was an hour ago. I still think the best praise Jess can give is the lettering is great. I pay attention to the lettering. I pay much more attention.
I have a new favorite letterer lately, Becca Carey. Every time I read a book, any book I've read this year where I'm like, wow, that lettering was unusually great. And it's not my typical go-to too, which is Hassan or Aditya Bidikar. It's Becca Carey. And I know there are two styles, so I usually can tell when it's one of them. But if it's unidentifiable and the lettering was great enough that I actually noticed it, it is many times this year turned out to be Becca Carey. I want to interview some letterers on my channel. I decided. I think if I'm going to do some interviews, because you know what? But there's not shade. I'm not trying to shade anybody. It's going to sound like shade. But at the point that you can get Brian Bendis to come on your channel, if you have like 100 subscribers, I think I could get a letterer on my channel. I'm not shooting too high there. I've never seen a letterer interviewed on any of the channels of any of our friends. So I think I could get a letterer to talk. Not because I think any less about letterers. I'm just saying if Bendis can make time. Bendis just seems to be showing up on YouTube just for fun lately. Can we get a welfare check on him? Did his kids just go to college or something? Is he bored? He's just like turning up everywhere lately. He acknowledged Harvey Picar's ghost on a stream recently, which is more than I do sometimes.
Rightly so. Well, Tyler Smith is a frequent viewer of all of our streams. He's a letterer extraordinaire.
I think once I get my shit together and I'm not so stressed that I can vomit like I seem to be every single day, and I do my 3 R's, then I'm gonna try to interview some letterers. That's my goal. I'm gonna interview 5 letterers.
I will definitely tune in.
Yeah,
what is?
I feel like lettering is like an IT department where I only kind of notice it when things are going wrong or are awful. And if they're going right, I'm just kind of taking it for granted. So because I'm just expecting it to be like good lettering, and then I'll read something where I'm into the story and the art, but it's just hard to read.
Yeah, it's unreadable sometimes.
And as I get older and these eyes get weaker and weaker, I really appreciate lettering that's just readable, that just like makes it easy to engage with, tells the story, doesn't get in the way, but has a little bit of flourish here and there. That's what I'm looking for. Reminds me, you're thinking about IT. I lost like a whole day last week to this little IT issue at the kids' school, which is not even worth going into the issue, because the upshot is the IT there is so seamless. It's a pretty big like campus of buildings, and all the kids just get their laptops and just work, and they walk all around. There's Wi-Fi everywhere. They can print ever to any printer from any place on the campus. And so really it was one of those times where the bad thing was happening and I was tempted to get angry, but I was like, but think about how magical all the other IT is that's happening, that it took me this long to notice this one little thing that was wrong. So I actually said to the IT person, I was like, this is amazing. I don't know how you do this.
Nice.
And I want to say that to some letterers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely hit them up on how the approach to work. Like, do they think like just because you can zoom in, like everybody's reading it this close, like how you interrupt the art, because there's obviously a consideration that you need to make in your illustration where it's like, oh, people are going to put words in this to read. The writer has to think about that space and allocating it, but then you have the practical thing of, did it actually make sense, like for what we're doing?
Poison Ivy from the Cramps. I saw the Cramps 3 times. They were
wow.
I loved the Cramps.
That's cool.
Great.
Yes, next Imagine Us says, yes, I truly think OmniDog's Vault would be hard-pressed not to declare Anora's opening his favorite in all of cinema to date. Okay, now I'm a little trepidatious, but I'm okay with it.
Oh, I am flashbacking something. Have you guys ever seen people leave the movie at the very beginning?
I'm
Like
sorry?
walk out?
Like when the movie's starting, it's not even 5 minutes, and somebody just walks out.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen it in a theater. I mean, I can think of many movies I've turned off in the first 5 minutes, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. I don't know if I've ever left the theater. I'm hardcore. Back when I actually would go to movie theaters, which I stopped doing pre-COVID. I won't even leave to go to the bathroom. Once I'm in, that's a death match. If the thing is 6 hours long, then it's 6 hours long. I don't care if I get hungry, I have to go to the bathroom, thirsty. I'm in that chair. I think the only time I've ever left a movie to go to the bathroom was Spider-Man 2. In my whole life.
Avengers Endgame, I didn't drink anything all morning or have any coffee. I didn't do anything. I was so dehydrated because I did not want to get up and miss any of it. And I I made it.
Just passing out in the chair due to dehydration.
It was
We should have IV drips at movie theaters just so you can really stay hydrated.
I've walked out of movies. It doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, but you see like hundreds of movies a year, so of course you have
That's
some
true.
stinkers.
Yeah, you have.
Well, especially when I have like a subscription to the movie theater, so I go several times a week. But I go to like blind preview screenings, and sometimes they're very fun, and sometimes, like the last one was a movie. It was trying to be very edgy, and then like the first 15 minutes they shot and killed a dog, and I was like, well, this is not my movie, bye. And then I went home and played guitar and was a much happier person.
I went to, okay, I'll try again. The movie that was made from a book Bunk and I think it was now I'm gonna have to figure out what it was called. Bunk and I reviewed a crime book, like Le Grand Obelisk, the Grand Obelisk, and they made a movie of it on Netflix, and that is one of the few things I have turned off after 15 minutes. It was called Wing Women or something. It was hardly based on the comic at all, and it wasn't good bad like The Room is. It was just really a botched attempt at a movie, and I turned it off. It was wow, it was bad. Really, really, really bad.
All that talk about the opening of the movie reminds me of how when I watched the Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, those first couple minutes are just Smeagol and his brother fishing and laughing, and they're having jokes. Somebody thought they were in the wrong movie, and they walked out, and then they had to be like the person working in the theater had to like, no, that's the movie. And then they walked in. It was like during how that scene ends, not spoiling it. It was incredibly funny.
Is this on the 28th, James? Okay, I'll try again. The first band who invented punk was the Monks with Black Monk Time from 1965. Has anyone read Holler by Jeremy Massey? Paperback collection recently came out about a young grunge band in a small town.
You know, I feel like I noted that down to try to check out if it gets to my library or digital or something like that.
I loved early Paramore. That's my Paramore.
And
Johnny is a total punk. Being a former punk, whatever my friends and I were into was what punk music was for us. We often went to see punk bands to be more with friends, others like us, than because of the bands themselves. He was a punk back early in the early days of punk. Like, he's shown me the pictures. Paramore have a consistently solid catalog, but particularly after Laughter, and This Is Why, they veered into post-punk territory, and it's the best of their discography. Okay, wait. I'm going to have to listen to them while I'm putting my action figures around, too.
After Laughter is the only album that kind of doesn't fully go punk. I don't even know what to say about it. It's incredible.
Okay.
But it's not like if you want to like first venture into them, that wouldn't be the first album.
Yeah, After Laughter almost has this very I can't explain it. There's a certain tone that it has that I've never been able to put my finger on. Almost this like sunny pastel plastic colored. It's expressed very well through the videos and the album art and everything. But it's just like I never thought of Paramore as being very plastic and pastel, but it's still very much them. I'm not saying that as an insult. It's just so weird. Like it's so strange to try to describe the After Laughter period.
Yeah, it's like a happy deranged.
Yeah.
Oh, like
and This Is Why, whereas This Is Why has this like paranoia, almost a little bit reminds me of like TV on the radio, maybe. So I get that it's post-punk. Yeah, but there's like, it's like got this like somebody's watching me element to the whole record almost.
Oh, you just gave word to what I was looking for. Paranoia.
Yeah, it's very I love This Is Why. Now I'm going to be singing that for the whole rest of the day. I should cover that. I love that song so much. It's crazy that they didn't. Did they win Grammys for that record? It's crazy that record didn't win a lot of Grammys if they didn't.
I'll look it up. I don't remember.
It's engineered so well.
I have all the Nuggets albums and I have the Pebbles albums. Do you have those, Harvey? It's okay. I read the first 2 issues of Tin Can Society after Krisis recommendation. Truly peak. Krisis doesn't miss, except when it comes to Superman.
It did win the Grammy for best last year for best rock album. So there you go. I vindicated.
And This Is Why the song won for best alternative music performance. So 2 Grammys.
Oh, this is one of the greatest songs ever, Harvey. Count 5, Psychotic Reaction. Boy, yeah. That is great. And here is the link. Thank you, James, for my theme song and animation. Nate did an amazing job on that. Everybody should go watch that. Oh, I miss plenty. Don't worry. As the years roll on, I'm sure I'll have some straight up misses in my top 10. I don't know. Okay. Doc says, I went to see Jimmy Eat World with Paramore opening for them. That's when Paramore's second album hit, and a lot of people left and didn't stay for Jimmy Eat World.
Wow.
Oh, I could tell a story like that, and Jess is going to kick me off the stream when I'm done telling the story.
Whoops, Max.
Max apparently pre-immolated.
We know where this is going.
I had tickets to this very small rock club in Philly, which is called the Theater of the Living Arts. Now it might be the Fillmore Philly, but to me, it's always the Theater of the Living Arts, to see OK Go, who I really, really love. I love that kind of like power pop rock. And they happened to be opening for a band that I just did not want to spend my entire night standing room only listening to, even though I know they're a very good band. And that band was Cheap Trick. So I left. So I left before. I like Cheap Trick, but I just was like, I'm not standing here for 3 more hours to see Cheap Trick. I'm sorry. I watched the first 2 songs. I'm like, okay, I now can say I've seen Cheap Trick. And then I went home.
I get it. I understand this.
Okay, you're gonna start taking shots at my mom and my wife.
I like Cheap Trick. I just didn't want to stand there. I was already getting old. My knees. Look, any problems I have with my knees, it's all because of the amount of comic books, the amount of concerts I went to wearing inadvisable, cool-looking boots, as if anybody was going to look down in the mosh pit and see my boots. I mean, I've been to a lot of concerts, and I remember even thinking in my youth, you know what? Later, when I'm old, my back's going to hurt, and I'm going to say, good thing it hurts because I went to all these concerts. And you know what? I do feel that way, but I cannot stand at a concert anymore.
Who's the biggest name you've ever seen? Bowie?
Well, Madonna. I don't really like arena tours though. So Madonna's the only artist I've ever seen at an arena tour. My metric is, am I close enough to know what chords they're playing on the guitar as they play them? So yeah, Madonna.
Visually.
I mean, I've seen yeah, mostly I'm in the singer-songwriter vein. Like I've seen like Heart and some. I saw Fleetwood Mac. That I broke my arena rule to see Fleetwood Mac. But I mostly see a lot of like singer-songwriter type people and like bands. I like a band. I like a rock band. Seen Garbage, of course, like many times. Rufus Wainwright, Ani DeFranco. I'm very 90s in my choices generally.
I love Rufus Wainwright.
I just want to have sex with his voice.
Have you listened to his operas?
No, I saw him do one in Philly with the Philly what are they? I forgot what the name of the orchestra, but I saw him stage one in Philly, and I just got the newest one, and I haven't listened to it yet. It'll probably be this weekend because 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm finally mentioning that all I've done for the past 7 days the past 5 days is listen to Lady Gaga, of course.
Wow,
there it is. There we go.
Lead with that. I thought we were going to lead with that. And how, since you've been listening to it nonstop, where would it rank in your rankings of Gaga albums?
Possibly number 3. I really love it. I was expecting just dirty synths based on Disease and Abracadabra, but it's a rock record. It's very 80s pop. Very rock. It's got a heavy 9 Inch Nails influence on a couple of songs, and I love 9 Inch Nails. The song she did on Saturday Night Live, Killa, has a heavy David Bowie Fame influence. In fact, it might sample Fame and a big Prince influence too. Maybe a little tiny sprinkle of Talking Heads in there. Yeah, it's a rock record, and I think she does great rock.
Sounds
love it. I think people who don't like it are people, I always say, expectations are a thief of joy. They heard Disease and they thought it was all going to have that synth bass that they love from her. And they thought it was going to be a whole record of that. And then when it wasn't, they're like, this is mid. But I'm like, are you hearing how good? And she does disco. She does like 3 straight up disco tracks. And I'm sorry, I'm on a tear now. Freddie and I've been waiting. All have opinions, so jump in. So many people do modern disco, right? And they're like, it's disco, but it's cool. It's like alt disco, like that one artist, Jessie Ware, that everybody loves. It's just disco, but it's cool. It's so fucking, I could say fuck now or an hour or two. It's so fucking boring because it doesn't, if you go back and listen to actual disco, and even though that was not my era that I was primarily love for, I have a huge love of disco. I have a massive catalog of stuff that I've ripped from vinyl to have digitally for disco. And Jess, back me up here, because I don't know if you loved it or not, but you were around for some of disco.
I lived Yeah.
I lived for disco because disco, even the most like 8-minute long disco mix, that has something that you will always remember. There's no boring disco. Even if it's outlandish, even if it's terrible, even if it's like an awful voiceover, there's every disco song like just has, in addition to that great hi-hat ride, it's got something hooky to it. And I feel like modern disco is like too cool to be disco, and they forget to have a hook, an infinitely repeatable line, a thing that's like almost cheesy because it's so obvious. And that, if you want to play disco music, to me, you need that. And these Lady Gaga, like this song Zombie Boy, it's dumb. It's a dumb song. You know what other song is dumb? Thriller. Like, dumb songs can be some of the best songs of all time because they like have an incredibly appreciable hook in them. And I just feel like Gaga, to me, like saved modern disco with some of the songs in this album, because it made me realize the reason that it's not that I stopped liking disco. I just want it to be remarkable and noticeable. And so many people make it so like smooth and featureless that I'm like, that's not disco. Any opinions on that? On my hour 3 diatribe here?
I very much agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, everybody's in. Everybody's in on it.
Oh my lord.
Max agrees.
Go ahead, Max. Did you have more to say? Go for it.
Yeah. Well, people kind of forget the whole culture surrounding it. I mean, I wasn't there, obviously, but if you only like take a minute to look about it, there was a lot of stuff going on that made it pretty like rough. You know, like the whole club culture scene attached to it. But whenever people were trying to do like a modern day disco, the first thing that came to mind, because that's something that came out when I was like first listening to everything that was coming out, was Sophie Alice Baxter. Do you remember those? Like Murder on the Dance Floor and everything, which is like fine, but it's also like a very cutesy way of playing that music, almost like making it a kind of pastiche type of thing. Yeah, just very like polished. Even though it's a catchy song, it's just, it's boring.
No, I hear you. I think that modern pop polish, that kind of like this song can only have one idea, doesn't always work for me in a disco song. But Jess, I really want to hear your opinion.
As a teenager and young adult, I was, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Allman Brothers, etc. I just liked rock, Cheap Trick, and I was dating a girl probably my junior year in college, and it was sort of a form of trust where she said I had to tell her my deepest, darkest secret that I would never tell any of my friends. And I told her that the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever was one of my all-time favorite albums. And she said, I will never tell anybody that because I'm not sure I'm going to stay with you right now. I may be leaving right now. And I was like, wait a sec, there was supposed to be no judgment. But yeah, I love that soundtrack. And I think one of the only knock about disco at the time for me was that it was just, it was also during the time of top 40 radio. So the same songs just kept getting played over and over, and you'd get oversaturated with it. The backlash against disco had a very not even subtle underline of racism in it, though. I mean, I think there was, while there were plenty of, the Bee Gees and stuff turned to disco or dance music, but I think you can make a strong case that the anti-disco backlash was rooted in racism.
I think it also kind of connects to what Peter said about 2 hours and about 15 minutes ago when we were talking about yes,
I told you to come back.
When we were talking about fallen angels, where it's just kind of like the collective conscious, like the zeitgeist will pick something to just hate on, and I feel like disco kind of got that treatment because it kind of was a very uncool thing, even though from what I gather when it was coming out it was pretty hip. you know. But then people just look back on it. But yeah, it's awful. It's really not. It's really cool. I like it if you just listen to the all the different rhythms going on in those recordings. It's very impressive. It's very cool. Cool orchestrations, cool arrangements. Cool.
Well, also, I think people have this thinking that disco is just Saturday Night Live. It's just the hustle, or it's just like they have this very single dimensional view of disco. But then you do something and listen, like I last year listened to the entire catalog, every song of Grace Jones. And it's like, no, there's disco that's art pop. There's disco that's rock. There's disco that's art. Like disco is part of it is just kind of like the production style and the underpinnings and the certain backbeat that disco has. And you can actually do a lot of different things. It's not any one thing. Like Grace Jones, I can't say that I loved every Grace Jones song, but I just was like, I was just talking about this in the chat actually with Dana, who brought up Sylvester, who's another disco artist who I absolutely love. And as somebody as voracious about music as I am, I'm embarrassed to say I did not know Sylvester at all until I heard You Make Me Feel Mighty Real on season 8 of Drag Race, which would have been in 2016. And I was like, how do I not know this? I know a lot of disco, I thought at the time. And I realized that there are so much. That was kind of the genesis of my big listening project that I think you've all heard me talk about, where I like pick a genre I like or an artist and I like. I'm like, well, who's the queer person doing this music? Who's the black person or the Asian or person of color or indigenous person doing this music? Why don't I know their name? And one of the genesis was I felt so dumb for not knowing who Sylvester was that I was like, I've missed all sorts of stuff. And so Grace Jones is part of that too. I'm like, how do I know who she is? Like as an image, the iconography of her, and I can't sing you a Grace Jones song. So I was like, I'm going to listen to every Grace Jones song. And she's, wow, Grace Jones is, I mean, I already had Donna Summer, if we're talking about stuff that I was already aware of, but Grace Jones just blew my mind. I didn't know anybody was making music that sounded like that in 1979.
Her album that has Warm Leatherette on it is one of my favorite albums. I don't even know if that album. I don't think that album was considered disco. I feel like that was subversive pop. I mean, the way she sang Warm Leatherette was so powerful and stuff. It was, I can't remember the other songs from the album, but she was really, really good. I really liked Grace Jones. Oh, here's Pity Ma. Good to see you. Hope you're still here. That was half an hour ago. I'm very sorry. Wing Women. That's the movie I stopped watching. It was really awful. The Grand Odalisque was a great book, but wow, that movie sucked really bad.
I do want to add to something that Krisis was saying about how there's disco and there's different kinds of disco and everything. This is kind of my issue with when it comes to labeling things with genres, because what is a genre? Like if you say rock music, what is rock music?
Mm-hmm.
People would call the Beatles rock music. Some people would call, I don't know, Rammstein rock music or whatever. You know, it's. I get really annoyed by that stuff. Duke Ellington said there's only 2 types of music, good and bad. That's kind of how I like to get into it, you know.
That's dropping a major name there. Nice flex with Duke Ellington there, dude.
Well, and if you love jazz and you love Beatles, Max hasn't plugged it yet, but I'm his official hype, non-binary hype them. Yes. Because on Max's channel, he posts a Beatle Bop every week, and he gets really stressed if he doesn't have one prepared yet. So, but he hasn't missed one yet. We're on week 8 or 9 this week. And so he rearranges the Beatles songs that you know, because there's only 213 of them, and you've heard every one of them, I'm sure. And he rearranges them as jazz. But now in the descriptions, he actually says like what jazz influence he's using to inform his arrangements. So now they come with information too, and they're, I mean, genuinely delightful. Like it's one of the highlights of my week every week. And so if you haven't gone and listened to every one, please do. And remember, when the new one comes, you have to listen to it twice. Those are the rules. I don't make them. That's just the rules.
Exactly. You gotta listen to it blind, and then after reading the description, listen to it again.
Yeah. Right, and then you go back and listen to it and listen to the things about the reharmonization or whatever that Max talked about.
Yeah, then with all of those, you go back and listen to all of Max's other music because he's been playing for a while, and they're all really good.
Do you know he has a video that went like mildly viral that has like tens of thousands of views on his channel?
Is that right?
And we've already talked about the topic today. He was playing one of the songs from the Pinocchio soundtrack. It just got recommended to me like, oh, hey, loser, you probably don't know this cool viral video somebody named Max made. I was like, that's one of my best friends, you asshole YouTube. What are you doing? Put it recommended for you.
That is true.
How dare you?
It was hilarious to me because that's written by Alexandre Desplat because I went to see the film. And I really liked the songs in there. And I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, yeah, you should play that song. So I was like, okay, cool. So I looked up the song and then I transcribed it, which was kind of difficult because it's a big orchestration. But I just, wrote out the melody and the chords. And then I figured out a guitar arrangement. So I recorded that, just thinking nothing of it really, uploaded it. And then the day later, I had like few thousand views. I was like, okay, this is weird. I think it's at 57,000 or something.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's very strange.
You're viral.
All I just had people commenting in Spanish, but all I could say was
that why
like,
you started Spanish in Duolingo so you could respond to the comments on your Pinocchio video?
Sí. They were all like, buen trabajo. I was like, gracias. Lo siento, no entiendo.
That's really good pronunciation, though.
We've got so much deep lore going on. I feel like we've learned more about I don't know, has Freddie dropped any deep lore? I think we're missing some Freddie deep lore. We've had deep lore from the other three of us. Tradition, what is your deep lore tonight?
I don't know if something's come up naturally.
I dropped.
Yeah, you can't force
it.
You can't force deep lore.
No, exactly. Because something I think is a deep lore, it's going to be boring.
Okay, you're right. It needs to be organic, so it'll happen.
I do, just for the sake of anyone might be finding this interesting, I do really enjoy doing the Beatle Bop thing because what I do is I write out the melody, and then that's all I write out, and then I can fill in everything else. So if you just have notes, there is no harmonic context, and you can recontextualize by doing different chords. That's the way I approach it anyway.
Which is so fast. I mean, now we're going deep into nerd territory, but that's why I find them so fascinating and appealing because I know every Beatles song so well front to back. And I think many Beatles songs are so perfectly crafted around their melody that the melody and the intervals in the melody has all of the information you need to almost like intuit the chords to the song. It's like I'm really addicted to these this channel Drumeo, and I think there's a piano. The piano one is like piano note or piano or something, where they have a drummer come in and they play them a drumless track, and then they drum to the song. And these are all like pro touring drummers. And there's one that I watched over and over. It's this woman drummer who plays with pop acts, like lights she plays with, playing to Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine, which one of my favorite like thrashing headbanging songs, and she's never heard it, and so she's just making up her own drum part, and it's different, but it has a lot of the drum information that is in the official drums of the song because it's just encoded into the rhythm of the song. And I feel like Beatles songs, so often the melody is so distinct that all of the chord information you need is like perfectly encoded, almost like it's been compressed, like a compressed zip file or an MP3. It's been like compressed into the melody because the melody of Beatles songs are so informative. And so that's why I love listening to you do Beatles Bop, because sometimes I'm like, there's that chord progression that I knew was going to happen. And sometimes I'm like, oh no, Max is like really, there are other chords in this one. He found like he went, instead of laterally, he moved vertically and changed my conception of what direction these chords will go. And that's why I'm a much less pedigreed musician than Max, but a musician all the same. That is what is really fascinating to me about Beatle Bops. And because everybody knows Beatles songs, I feel like you don't even have to be a musician to like get that from listening to a jazz interpolation of a Beatles song. And also that Drumeo channel, man, that's like my new favorite YouTube channel. I think I watch one every night at this point.
Did you watch the interview they did with Phil Collins?
Oh, I did. I watched a little of Phil Collins. They also have videos of Michael Jackson's touring drummer just straight up playing a full like Beat It, Thriller, Don't Stop Till You Get Off, and it's just like a top-down view of his kit of him just, and it's like, to me that is, and then going back to disco, right? That is just candy. getting to watch Michael Jackson's drummer play every drum part there is in Thriller.
Yeah, it's really cool. This is are you all familiar with familiar with Brian Setzer?
Yes.
Yeah,
Gaga?
I saw him live in 2017 for Christmas. His
Oh, I'd
Christmas
love to see him live. He's having trouble with his
Yeah.
hands right now, I think.
Yeah.
He hasn't toured since then. I feel like COVID happened, and then he
has an autoimmune disease. So now
Oh.
he says that whenever he can't really hold a pick anymore. Like he says it feels like he's also like wearing gloves or something.
So lucky I got to see him.
Wow.
Because it was
my
great.
uncle has like a shirt
Show.
signed by him.
Great.
But anyway, you were going to make some kind of a point about Brian Setzer before we all.
Yeah. Brian Setzer. What?
Something about Brian Setzer.
Well, yeah, there was. I was listening to he has that Brian Setzer big band thing, and I was watching this interview with him, which I found fascinating because he wrote all his own arrangements, which is I was talking with Peter when I was arranging for the studio thing, and when you're arranging, sorry, this is very deep nerd talk, but basically there are instruments that are transposing instruments, meaning that they play in a different key than other. It's hard to explain. Basically, like if an alto sax plays the C, you'll hear an E flat because they're a different tuned instrument, if you will. So if you have to write a piece of music, you have to write in different keys for different instruments. But he learned to do that, and I thought it was badass. Also, I went to the movie theater yesterday to see a documentary about Led Zeppelin, because Led Zeppelin is my favorite rock band ever. And you know who I'm most impressed with now, out of all of them? John Paul Jones.
Oh, really?
He's just amazing, because he would just casually mention, well, you know, I started playing organ in the church, and it's like, okay, cool. When he was like 12, and he couldn't play organ, he just said, yeah, that'll be fun, and then he just learned how to do it, and then he became a session musician in his teens, and he started writing arrangements. You know how difficult it is to write arrangements? He says, yo, just, you know, wrote an arrangement every night. It's like, oh, okay.
I can't even imagine that. Like I've done arrangements. Max and I talk about this stuff all day long. I can do an arrangement on a computer that can play it back to me, but to just like sit and write, yeah, that's something. You have a different kind of brain than mine if you can do that.
Yep, you'll have to have very good trained ears and have to imagine how everything will sound, and then, you know, write all the. You also have to be aware of all the limitations of every instrument that you're arranging. It's very impressive. So, and then he was like, "Yeah, my wife said I should join the band because I was only working on arrangements. So I called Jimmy Page, joined the band. It was fun."
Oh my gosh!
I love that his reason for joining was like, "You got to get out of the house."
So good. He's amazing.
Did you say you saw that in the recent movie that just came out?
Or it was in a movie theater. It's a documentary that just came out called Becoming Led Zeppelin.
Okay, yeah, I want to see that. And that's where you got that John Paul Jones tidbit?
Yep.
Okay. Cliff on Comics, my guy. How are you doing, Cliff? Good to see you. Let's see. Yeah, Slave to the Rhythm's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, here. Can you send Max? Can you send me this in Messenger or Discord so I can make a link for the description?
Sure.
They can see the viral sensation known as Mac.
So funny to me.
And
I am really enjoying the multi-layered arrangements where I'm playing bass and several guitars and stuff. Those are really fun to do.
Max, every week I also look forward to your arrangement. Great way to start the day, buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate
it. And I went forward, so now because I wanted to make sure, since we're getting close to the end, that I didn't miss anything.
Well, I missed something though.
Oh, go ahead.
I missed the question you asked me 3 hours ago, which was what was Last Thing We Read, or What Are We Reading? What was it? Last Thing We Read.
Yeah.
Well, I finally pulled out one of those big chonkers I've had for like 3 years, which is the Mass Effect book, which is a huge compendium. Turns out I've read most of this digitally already. Like as they were coming out, I probably read them then.
Did you enjoy what you reread?
Oh yeah, because I bought a gaming PC and it came with a damaged graphics card, and then I had to wait for so long for another one to come back to play the games again. And then I did, and I read this, and I was like, oh, this is just I knew this. I've read this. Oh,
Okay.
Interesting. But it had a few artists that are now big, so that's interesting.
This is one thing I have in common with Harvey. I love Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and he did send me pics of he was in the pit. He was so close. I think he was in front of the stage because he sent me pics of the playlist on the floor in Cleveland. So you saw him twice, Harvey? I couldn't get tickets, were crazy expensive. I wish I could have gone, but you know, $600 for a seat that's in front, that's just not happening for me.
I revere Neil Young. My best friend who was in my band is a huge Neil Young fan, and so through her, he was a huge influence on me. He's one of those artists though that I'm not going to pay $300 to. You don't know what crazy shit he's going to pick for his set list that night. You don't know. You don't know. That's why I always say when an artist puts out an album that you like, it has to be your mission in life to see them on that album's tour so that you can like see those songs. Because once you get into Neil Young territory, you don't know what he's going to play. He might not play a single song that you like.
Or no.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly have artists like that I've seen that I'm like, well, I'm glad that I went to that concert, but I had no idea what was happening. I mean, there's some artists like Tori Amos where like there's no way she could stump me, and that's why I would keep seeing her. But I've definitely seen some artists where I'm like, I should have known what I was getting into because I did not know a single song from that set.
That's a good point about Neil Young.
How do you feel about when you go see an artist and they play their songs, but they play like a different version of their songs? Not necessarily like a different style, but they change things around.
I love when artists change it up. I'm not super precious. Like, oh, they didn't play it the way that I liked. Like, I just want to see them be musicians in a room. The thing I hate though, and I do not like this trend of medleying that pop artists do now, where nothing against Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift, but I would never see a Taylor Swift concert because she does like 44 songs in one show, but some of them are like a minute. It's like a verse and a chorus because she's trying to like please everyone. That's the only thing that pisses me off. It's one thing if you do it once or twice in a show where you like medley one of your choruses into another chorus. That's like, oh, cool. I caught the reference, but I don't want to hear a bunch of 1 minute snippets of your songs. I want to hear, but at the same time, I will say, I mean, I'm very neurodivergent about how I think music should be presented, reflected in concerts I myself played, which is I also do not need to hear you jam out for 7 minutes, unless it's a jazz concert. No. I don't need to hear you jam out for 7 minutes at the end of some random B-side from your third album. You could have played 2 more songs in that time. I'm here for content, baby. Pack it in there.
And I will also say I don't want it to be exactly like the album because I could have stayed home and listened to the album.
Yeah, I would dirty it up a little bit, change it up. That's why I always love seeing Garbage because they have so many samples and sounds that you know are going to be in it, but they still do rework all of the songs on every tour. So even songs that you've heard 100 times, like Only Happy When It Rains or Stupid Girl, they're never copycat verbatim. They always have like switched up the samples or like done a different thing with the drum or like inverted one of the guitar lines. And so I like a band that can do that where it's still pleasing and still recognizable, but they made sure that if you've seen them multiple times, you know the album by heart, you're getting your money's worth. I think it's weird when people just go to a concert and they want to hear the song just like it was in the album so they can perfectly sing along to every note the way I think they're weird.
That's kind of
thing I hate is going to a concert and I listen to 5 dorks on either side of me singing the Bruce Springsteen song because I'm seeing Springsteen and I gotta listen to these mopes think they're singing to Born to Run. Hey, how about if I can hear the guy that sings it sing it, not you 98-year-old housewives with your curlers in your hair singing it? I hate that.
Drag them. I will pick. I hate singing at concerts. And people say I will pick one chorus of one song that I'll sing like the final refrain. Like when they get there the last time, that's the time I'll say, and baby, we were born to run. Like, and I'll just do it that one time at the end of the course, and that's it. And I've picked my one, I've chosen my battle, I've done one, and that's all that I'll do.
So I have two things I want to say about this. First of all, are you familiar with Tal Wilgenfeld?
No.
I love her. She's a bass player. She used to play with Jeff Beck. But I think she's from Australia, and she started playing like professionally when she was like 19. She's just immensely talented. But she released an album where she's like singing, and it's all her songs. It's like singer-songwriter rock type thing, but with very high level musicianship. And whenever I look up a video of her performing one of the songs live, they're always different. But they're so in control of the material that they can just do anything. I think that's contrary to your expectations. Yes, you might actually enjoy that recommendation because it's just a badass singer. You know, I really like it. And the second thing, have any of you ever been to a classical concert?
Yes, many times.
So one thing that really annoys me. Well,
it's a joke.
The thing that really boggles my mind, and I've only seen this happen with classical concerts, is when people show up with the sheet music and then they'll sit in the audience.
Along? I would do that.
I'm that nerd.
Wow.
I'm that.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
And they
so strange. So odd.
I've never seen that. Wait, somebody's probably been chatting me. I need to leave. I gotta go to sleep. We know the way to get you to stay.
We only needed to warm up for 2.5 hours, which lots of technical difficulties and everything. But yeah,
right. I know that first half hour didn't even count. Yeah, because I love reading along with sheet music, even when it's too sophisticated for me to like fully read every note. I like having like something tactile and like a visual that goes with it, because it's not the same. Like, I'm a good enough guitar player that I can watch you play guitar and kind of like know what's happening in a general sense, but I can't watch a flautist and know what's happening. So like, I actually like reading the sheet music, but
I get that. I also just recommend doing that because it's very good for your ear, because you'll develop like you'll connect how something sounds and how it looks written down. But are you familiar with the Passions that Bach wrote? He basically wrote the Passion of John and the Passion of Matthew. They were very long classical pieces about the story of Jesus, basically. Like, I think the Passion of Matthew was like 4 hours or something like that. And then people will read along the whole thing. And that's just, I don't know. And do that at home. Why bring it to a gig?
I get that's fair. That's fair. I mean, sometimes, you know what? Sometimes I'm always in danger of falling asleep at a classical music show, not because it's boring, but or because I'm tired, but because I get so if I close my eyes and just listen, I get so lost in following all the melodies that it puts me. It's the only way I can meditate. I'm famously not a meditator. ADHD people have trouble meditating because they can't stop the inner voice, but I can meditate to classical music, but then I think my brain is so relieved that it shut off the constant anxiety diatribe for 2 seconds that I immediately fall asleep.
That's very familiar. Yes.
All right, well, poor Freddie has been boxed out of the conversation for ever since the Gaga began.
It's fine. You remember I said, hey, you really want to talk about music? Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I'm trying not to distract you. Like, I don't want to talk about how music. Chris said, at least the comics are more readable than the Mass Effect novels, which the first 3 are really, really great. It's that fucking 4th novel that sucks, because one of the main writers of the game and the guy who wrote all the novels left to work on a Star Wars game, but they still had scheduled a third game and the fourth novel, so they got a freelancer who knew nothing about the franchise. The first chapter breaks every single rule of the universe.
These are Star Wars comics or the novels?
This is a Mass Effect novel.
Oh, Mass Effect.
Yeah. But the first two are really great. They're by the guy who wrote Rule of Two. That's a Star Wars novel.
Oh, I
mixing them. It's like mixing liquors. You're mixing your sci-fis.
Because BioWare's the studio that did the Knights of the Old Republic games, and
I did play those.
Exactly. So that's why they're mix and match, because they're all Star Wars nerds that made this other game that's kind of like it but very different. So
this show tonight delivered. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Matt had a comment that I wanted to say something about.
Oh, what time was that?
I have to look it up again. I don't remember.
Counting Crows. Also, for what it's worth, the 2-disc Bee Gees' Greatest Hits was the first album I ever bought and listened to obsessively as a child. Saturday Night Fever was my first self-consciously favorite film and is still a fond, albeit lesser favorite. And I can't help myself in continuing to also still love the Bee Gees as such.
Such a journey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, this was the music and comics show, and I appreciated my guests. I'm glad that we got Max on. Max, every stream you ever do, you need to be on that laptop, because this is the first time I've actually ever heard your voice at anything more than a whisper. I'm not kidding. You need to be on this laptop.
You know what's funny?
I feel like the video is higher resolution than Max usually appears as well.
So
you wanna hear something funny? This is the exact same webcam and mic.
And you just like rebooted and like changed browsers or something?
I just hooked it up on my laptop instead of my 12-year-old desktop.
Oh, well, that could, as we've discussed recently, the 12-year-old desktop is maybe not the way to power these shenanigans.
Yeah, my desktop's almost old enough to leave home.
Even more from scratch.
Well, thank you, Chris. And I've been telling Jess there's a lot of content there for sure. About music or my vinyl collection. I think that's going to be a separate tour, my vinyl collection.
I gotta say, it's fun to actually be on a stream to be able to talk about music. Because I'm always on the comic streams, which, to be fair, they are comic channels.
Yeah.
But I'm always popping up going, hi, I do music. And so I read this book, and nothing music related happens. It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way on my channel, where it's like, I could have a whole channel just about music. It's my other great love of art. And I'm always like, and so I'm so happy I've been starting to sneak in playing a song at the end of my streams, because I'm like, even if some people leave and some people stay, and but it's part of the holistic stuff that I love, and it just feels so much more fun to be able to do music and comics. And I'll always love spending time with our family on Near Min. I always will love, hanging out with Omar. I'll always love making guest appearances on channels like Aussieverse. But this is what I actually want to do. I want to talk about comics and music and just go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the passion for both is what people like watching. People like to connect with us with things we're passionate about, because they're passionate about it too. And it's so I think it comes across as genuinely authentic. And so that's what people, I think, really like to see is our passion for stuff. Oh, wait. Peter's end of stream songs are amazing to listen to. Is that are you going to be doing that tonight? Thank you.
Well, I'm tight on time, but I mean, you also have Max here, but mine are not copyrighted. Although Max has a new album coming out soon, but I don't know if he's prepared to play solo versions of those.
I would, but it's 2 a.m.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're past the play o'clock.
Yeah, sadly.
Play o'clock. I'll read Storm as soon as it comes out in collected
Oh,
format.
it's so good. I
Yeah,
love Storm.
I come for the song, just have to sit through the comics talk. Sounds like a yes to me. So,
To add to what Krisis was just saying about playing the song and then some people stay and some people leave. I have the same kind of when I upload a video and I'm not getting like 50,000 views over every video. That would be insane. But I just try to imagine a room, and then the number of people of the views would be in the number of people in the room, and I would be grateful if 2 people came and sat to listen. And if there's, I don't know, 100 or something, I would be amazed. If that's just kind of the way I approach watching the views or not, because I'm just grateful anyone will listen.
That's why I kept going last Friday, because there were 50 people, 60 people in the chat, 2 hours after VFC and Tyler left. And I was like, if those 50 people were in my house, well, first of all, I'd call the police. But
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you get in here?
Yeah, what the hell? 50 people that wanted to interact with me and each other and stuff, that makes me really happy that there's 50 people out there that were interested in just chatting with me and each other and stuff. That's the fun of live streaming. So that's I agree with Max. Any amount. Thank you, Remy. People love Max music more than VFC music. VFC makes music?
I don't even want to imagine him singing.
But
I would love to see Omar sing on a stream.
I want to see him DJ with the one here,
Well, we're getting ready to listen to Peter play us out, but thank you to Freddie, and thank you to Max, and thank you to Krisis for being on tonight on Jammin' on Comics with a big shot glass of music tonight. And we appreciate everybody in the audience. Peace and love, peace and love. Please give us a like on your way out. And we always appreciate everybody that shows up, lurking or chatting. So thank you very much. Peace and love, peace and love.
All right, so I'm playing us out tonight. This is a new tradition.
Yeah, baby. Go for as long as you want. You tell me when to stop.
All right. Well, sometimes the power of my volume, because I'm quite loud, makes my internet just die. So if I start getting crumbly, you can just gracefully end the stream.
Powerful. You shatter the internet.
It's true. It happened this week on my stream, but this is a song of mine called Bucket Seat that I wrote over 20 years ago, and it still is my song that I always will sound check everything on. So this is the first time I'm playing on Jess's channel, so of course I have to play Bucket Seat. I was reckless, and you were restless. You said you wanted to end this attraction, so like a carnival ride, I kept swinging from side to side. I wanted to make you so sick of me. I want you to feel this viscerally. So did I make you dizzy enough? Do you feel me like a punch to your gut? I try to climb out of it like I was in a bucket seat. We got pretty fast, we got pretty far. We lasted like a half tank of gas in a really big car. And I will keep burning through these metaphors, 'cause they will never quite describe the rate of our acceleration and the thrill of our decline. So did I make you dizzy enough? Do you feel me like a punch to your gut? I try to climb out of it like I was in a bucket seat. I hope you see me now, that I'm driving away as fast as I can. We were a bumpy road, and now I'm looking for a smoother ride, and I'm terrified of it. So did I make you dizzy enough? Do you feel me like a punch to your gut? I try to climb out of it like I was in a bucket seat. I never knew that I cared enough to hurt you so badly. I never knew that I could climb on so madly. And I just want to put this behind me, in a bucket seat. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. So did I make you dizzy enough? Do you feel me like a punch to your gut? I try to climb out of it like I was a bucket seat.
Nice. That was a bop, as the kids
Love
say.
everybody.
Peace and love. Thank you for that. Peace and love. And yeah, I'm not going to do my song. That played us out. So we're going to end the stream. Thank you all. Thank you, Peter. That was amazing. Never heard you sing or play before. That's awesome. Peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you, everybody. And we used Peter's song to play us out. Thank you.